Hey, amazing viewers! Thanks for clicking on Monkey DFIC. Today's special feature is what if Luffy had the Ope Ope no Mi laws. Fruit your support through likes, shares, and subscriptions helps us reach more story lovers around the world. Thank you for being part of this community. Now, let's escape into this wonderful story. Chapter 1, The Surgeon of Liberty. Waves slapped against the hull of the fishing boat as 12-year-old Monkey D. Luffy dangled his legs over the edge, watching Shanks and his crew load supplies. The Red Hair pirates had docked in Fusha village for weeks now, and Luffy had appointed himself their unofficial cabin boy. Hey Shanks! When were you taking me on your next adventure? Luffy shouted, jumping up and waving his arms. Shanks laughed, ruffling the boy's hair. Not today, Anchor. Maybe when you learn how to swim. I'll be a better pirate than you someday. Just watch. Luffy puffed out his chest. Ben Beckman approached, carrying a small wooden chest. Captain, we should get this below deck. What's in there? Luffy asked, eyes wide with curiosity. Nothing for little kids, Shanks teased, but his expression turned serious as he looked at the chest. Just some treasure we liberated from a marine transport. Later that evening, the celebration at Makino's bar was in full swing. Pirates sang, drank, and told wild tales of their adventures while Luffy sat at the bar, shoving meat into his mouth. I'm serious. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. Luffy declared for the 100th time. The pirates roared with laughter. Sure kid, right after you learn to throw a proper punch. Shanks' navigator stumbled in, his face pale. Captain. The chest is gone. Silence fell over the bar. Shanks stood up so quickly his chair clattered to the floor. What do you mean, gone? Someone broke into the ship. They left the chest, but what was inside? Shanks grabbed the navigator by the shoulders. The fruit? The Ope Ope no Mi is missing. Luffy coughed, drawing everyone's attention. You mean that weird-looking purple thing? The one that looked like a heart with swirls? The blood drained from Shanks' face. Luffy, what did you do? I was hungry. You guys were all drinking and I found it in that box. It tasted awful though. Luffy stuck out his tongue, making a disgusted face. You ate it? Shanks shouted, grabbing Luffy by the shoulders. That was the Ope Ope no Mi. One of the most valuable devil fruits in existence. A devil fruit? Luffy's eyes widened. So I'll get cool powers like in the stories? Awesome. Shanks wasn't smiling. You idiot. Do you have any idea what you've done? The Marines were transporting that fruit to Mariehua. They'll tear this village apart looking for it. What exactly does this fruit do? Makino asked quietly. Lucky Roo shook his head. It's the operation fruit. Lets the user create a space where they control everything, cut things apart, put them back together, swap stuff around. It's a surgeon's fruit. But Luffy hates doctors, Makino said. That's not even the worst part, Shanks muttered, rubbing his temples. The Ope Ope no Mi is said to grant the power of immortality. Cool. I'll live forever. Luffy pumped his fist. No, you idiot. Shanks snapped. The user can perform an operation that grants someone else immortality, but it costs the user their life. Luffy's face fell. Oh. That's why the world government wants it so badly, Ben Beckman explained. Imagine a marine or celestial dragon living forever. Shanks paced across the wooden floor. We need to leave. Now. If they track the fruit here. A crash outside interrupted him. The door burst open, revealing a tall figure silhouetted against the setting sun. A man in a white coat with black gloves and a marine cap stepped inside. Am I interrupting something? His voice was smooth as polished steel. His dark eyes scanned the room, landing on the wooden chest behind the bar. Shanks stepped forward. Just enjoying a drink with the locals. What brings a marine surgeon to our quiet village? The man's gaze sharpened. I'm Rear Admiral Kuratsuki, Marine Surgeon General. I'm tracking stolen world government property. A devil fruit of significant value. His eyes landed on Luffy, who was trying unsuccessfully to hide behind Makino. We recovered it from pirates, Shanks said smoothly. Planning to return it, of course. Kuratsuki stepped closer, his focus intensifying on Luffy. Is that so? Then you won't mind if I inspect that chest behind the bar. Shanks moved to block his path. Why don't we discuss this outside? Kuratsuki ignored him, his gaze still fixed on Luffy. Boy, you don't look well. Open your mouth. I'm fine. Luffy protested, backing away. Your tongue is purple, Kuratsuki said softly. A distinctive side effect of consuming the Ope Ope no Mi. The bar exploded into action. Shanks drew his sword as his crew leapt to their feet. Kuratsuki's hands began to glow with a pale blue light. The boy comes with me, Kuratsuki stated flatly. By order of the world government. The boy stays, Shanks countered. Unless you think you can take on my entire crew. Luffy trembled but stepped forward. I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. Kuratsuki's eyes narrowed. You have no idea what you've stumbled into, child. That power isn't meant for some village brat with delusions of piracy. Enough. Shanks stepped between them. Leave now, and we'll forget this happened. For a tense moment, Kuratsuki seemed ready to fight. Then he straightened his coat and backed toward the door. This isn't over. The world government will never stop hunting for that fruit's power. His cold eyes bored into Luffy. Enjoy your stolen abilities while you can, boy. We'll meet again. After he left, Shanks turned to Luffy, his expression grave. Luffy, listen to me. You need to keep this power secret. Practice it alone. Learn to control it. People will hunt you for it. Luffy nodded, unusually serious. I understand. Shanks looked at the straw hat on his head, then removed it and placed it on Luffy's head. I want you to return this to me someday. When you've become a great pirate. I promise. Luffy clutched the hat, tears in his eyes. Room. 13-year-old Luffy extended his hand, creating a wobbling blue dome that barely reached 5 feet in diameter. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he concentrated, trying to maintain the spherical shape. Shambles. He pointed at a rock inside the dome, attempting to switch its position with a leaf. The objects shuddered but remained in place. Luffy collapsed onto his back, exhausted. This is way harder than it looks, he complained to the empty forest clearing. For months now, he'd been sneaking away to practice his devil fruit powers in secret. After Shanks left, Garp had returned, and Luffy definitely didn't want his marine grandpa knowing he'd eaten a devil fruit, especially not one the world government wanted so badly. Luffy sat up, determined. One more try. Room. This time the blue dome expanded further, steadier. Shambles. The rock and leaf switched places with a pop of displaced air. Luffy jumped up, punching the air in celebration. Yes. I did it. A rustling in the bushes startled him. Luffy spun around as Ace and Sabo emerged, eyes wide. What the hell was that? Ace demanded. Luffy panicked. Nothing. Just playing. Liar, Sabo stepped forward. That was devil fruit power. Since when do you have one? Trapped, Luffy slumped. You can't tell anyone. Especially not Grandpa. He explained everything, the fruit, Shanks, Kuratsuki, the power of immortality. His brothers listened in stunned silence. Show us again, Ace finally said. Room. Luffy created the blue sphere. Shambles. He switched 2 small rocks. That's it? Ace looked unimpressed. Doesn't seem that special. I'm still learning. Luffy protested. Shanks said this fruit lets you cut things apart and put them back together. Like a surgery fruit. Sabo frowned. But you hate doctors. I know. But I'm gonna make it work for me. Luffy grinned. I just gotta figure out how. Over the next weeks, Ace and Sabo helped Luffy train in secret. They started with small objects, switching positions, orientation, even properties when Luffy discovered he could disassemble and reassemble things within his room. Try cutting that boulder, Ace suggested one day. Luffy extended his hand. Room. The blue sphere engulfed the boulder. He made a slicing motion. Tacked. A clean line appeared through the rock, separating it into two perfect halves that hovered in place. Luffy grinned, then brought them crashing together. That's actually pretty cool, Ace admitted. But can you fight with it? Let's find out. Luffy created another room, encompassing Ace. Shambles. Suddenly Ace found himself upside down in midair, then falling face first into the dirt. Hey! Ace sputtered, spitting out soil. Luffy doubled over laughing, until Ace tackled him into the ground. As weeks turned to months, Luffy's control improved dramatically. He could maintain larger rooms, perform more complex manipulations, and even began incorporating the power into his fighting style. One day, as they hunted a massive tiger, Luffy created a room encompassing the beast. Tacked. He separated the tiger into multiple floating segments, keeping the creature alive but immobilized. Got him. Ace whistled, impressed. Not bad, little brother. Sabo approached the suspended tiger parts. It's not even bleeding. How is that possible? Luffy shrugged. Dunno. I just picture it that way. You could be a great doctor with this power, Sabo observed. Luffy made a face. No way. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. The brothers dragged their quarry back to Dayton's hideout, Luffy secretly using his power to make the massive tiger lighter. As they approached, they noticed Dayton frantically running toward them. Where have you brats been? She demanded. Garp is on his way. He'll be here any minute. Luffy froze. Grandpa's coming. Hide those devil fruit powers, Ace hissed. If he finds out. Before they could prepare, Garp's booming voice reached them. Luffy. Ace. Sabo. Where are my grandsons? Garp emerged from the trees, towering and imposing as ever. He immediately grabbed Luffy in a headlock, giving him a fist of love. Ow. Grandpa, that hurts. Luffy complained. Training makes you stronger. Garp laughed. How else will you become a great marine? I told you, I'm gonna be king of the pirates. Luffy declared. Garp's face darkened. Not that nonsense again. For the next week, Garp subjected the boys to his idea of training, hurling them into ravines, chasing them through jungles with boulders, and pitting them against mountain bandits. During one particularly grueling session, Garp threw Luffy toward a cliff edge. Instinctively, Luffy shouted, "Room," creating a blue sphere that encompassed him and the cliff face. Garp froze. What was that? Luffy panicked, dispelling the dome. Nothing. Just yelling. Garp narrowed his eyes, marching toward Luffy. Show me your hands. Reluctantly, Luffy extended his arms. Garp examined them, then asked, Have you eaten a devil fruit, boy? And no. Don't lie to your grandfather. Luffy swallowed hard. I might have. Garp's face turned thunderous. What kind? Show me. Cornered, Luffy created a small room between his hands. All color drained from Garp's face. The Ope Ope know me. Where did you? How did you? Shanks had it, Luffy admitted. I didn't know what it was. Garp sat heavily on a rock. Do you have any idea what you've done? The Marines have been searching for that fruit for years. A Marine already knows, Luffy said quietly. Kuratsuki. Garp's head snapped up. Surgeon General Kuratsuki saw you use it. When? When Shanks was still here. He came to the village. Garp buried his face in his hands. This changes everything. He looked up, his expression more serious than Luffy had ever seen. Listen to me. You cannot let anyone else know about this power. The world government will stop at nothing to get it. But, no buts. If they catch you, they'll force you to perform the perennial youth operation on a celestial dragon. It would kill you, Luffy. Luffy's eyes widened. I don't want to die. Then you need to master this power in absolute secrecy. And when you're old enough. Garp hesitated, looking pained. You need to disappear. Far from marine jurisdiction. Like a pirate? Luffy asked hopefully. Garp grimaced. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yes. Like a pirate. 7 years passed. Luffy stood at the bow of a small fishing boat, now 17 and ready to set out on his journey. The villagers of Fusha gathered to see him off. Take care, Luffy. Makino called, waving. Bring back stories, shouted the mayor, despite his disapproval. Luffy adjusted the straw hat on his head, grinning widely. I'll come back as king of the pirates. He'd spent years mastering the Ope Ope no Mi in secret. While not the straightforward power he might have preferred, he'd adapted it to suit his wild, unpredictable fighting style. His room could now extend hundreds of feet, and he developed techniques far beyond what most surgeons could imagine. As his boat drifted from shore, Luffy sensed something massive rising from the depths. The local sea monster, Terror of the East Blue, erupted from the water with jaws wide. Perfect timing. I've been wanting to try this out. Luffy extended his hand. Room. A massive blue sphere engulfed both Luffy and the Sea King. With a casual gesture, Luffy separated the monster's head from its body, leaving it suspended in air. Counter shock. Lightning-like energy burst from Luffy's palm, stunning the creature. The villagers watched in awe as the previously fearsome Sea King floated harmlessly, its parts separated but still alive. I'm getting hungry anyway, Luffy mused. With another gesture, he cleanly sliced sections of meat from the beast, reassembling the rest and letting it sink back into the ocean, dazed but alive. The meat portions hovered in the air. Tact. Luffy directed them into his boat, then released his room. The meat fell into a neat pile. Whoa, the villagers murmured. He's gotten so strong, Makino said softly. The Marines will be after him for sure now, the mayor sighed. Luffy waved as he sailed toward the horizon. See ya. I'm off to find the One Piece. 2 days into his journey, a whirlpool threatened to swallow Luffy's small boat. Rather than panic, he created a room extending beyond the vortex. Shambles. He switched positions with a barrel floating nearby, letting his boat get sucked under while he floated safely inside the barrel. The current carried him toward a passenger ship where he promptly fell asleep, exhausted from using his power over such distance. He awoke to the sound of voices and the barrel being rolled. This is heavy. What's in it? Who cares? It's probably wine. The lady will never miss it. Luffy stretched inside the confined space. Time to make an entrance. He burst through the lid, sending wood splinters flying. Man, that was a great nap, he shouted, startling the pirates who'd found him. A small, trembling boy with pink hair stared at him in shock. The pirates recovered quickly, drawing their swords. Who the hell are you? Luffy blinked at them. Me? I'm Monkey D. Luffy. The man who'll be king of the pirates. One pirate swung his sword. Quick as lightning, Luffy created a small room. Tact. The pirate's sword separated from his hand, floating in midair. The other pirates backed away in horror. "D-Devil Fruit User," one gasped. "You bet." Luffy grinned, letting the sword reassemble with its handle backwards, blade pointing at its owner. "Now, got any food around here?" "I'm starving." The pirates fled, leaving the pink-haired boy behind. "That was amazing," the boy exclaimed. "I'm Kobe." "Those were Alvida's pirates. How did you do that with the sword?" "I ate the Ope Ope no Mi," Luffy explained, heading toward what smelled like a food storage room. "I'm a surgeon man." "A surgeon? But you just took apart that sword." Luffy shrugged, breaking into the pantry and grabbing apples. "I can take apart anything in my room. People, objects, whatever. And put them back together however I want." Kobe's eyes widened. "That's terrifying." "It's pretty cool," Luffy agreed through a mouthful of apple. "So why were you with these pirates? You don't seem like one." "I was kidnapped. I wanted to be a marine, but I've been their cabin boy for 2 years." "A marine, huh?" Luffy raised an eyebrow. "My grandpa's a marine. They're not all bad, I guess." A massive crash interrupted their conversation as a huge woman with a spiked club burst through the ceiling. "Kobe! Who are you talking to?" She spotted Luffy. "Who's this runt?" "I'm Luffy," he waved cheerfully. "Are you with that bounty hunter? The one hunting my men?" "Bounty hunter?" Luffy perked up. "Nope, just passing through." "You must be Alvida, huh?" The woman preened. "The most beautiful woman in all the seas." Kobe trembled beside him, but Luffy just tilted his head. "Eh? You don't look that beautiful to me." Alvida's face contorted with rage. "You brat." She swung her massive club. Room. The blue sphere expanded just in time. Shambles. Suddenly Alvida found herself swinging at empty air while Luffy appeared behind her. "What the?" She spun around, but Luffy had already moved again. "Over here," he called from her left, then her right, appearing and disappearing faster than she could track. "Stand still!" Alvida roared. "Nah," Luffy grinned. "Hey, wanna see something cool?" He extended his hand. Tact. Alvida's club separated from her grip, floating into the air. "My club," she gasped. Actually, Luffy concentrated, his fingers moving as if conducting music. "Let's try this." The iron spikes on the club detached one by one, hovering in a circle around Alvida. "What are you doing?" She backed away. "Experimenting." Luffy replied. "I'm still figuring out what I can do with this power." With a flick of his wrist, the spikes rearranged themselves into a rough cage around Alvida, points facing inward. Now, Luffy approached. "Kobe wants to join the Marines. You're gonna let him go?" Alvida snarled. "You think these little spikes scare me?" "They should," Luffy said casually. "I could put them through your body and take them out without leaving a mark. Wouldn't even hurt, unless I wanted it to." The color drained from Alvida's face. "Fine. Take the useless brat." Luffy dropped his room, letting the spikes clatter to the ground. "Great. Come on, Kobe." They escaped to a small boat, Kobe staring at Luffy in awe. "That was incredible. You beat Alvida without even touching her." Luffy shrugged. "The Ope Ope no Mi is pretty useful." "So, where to now?" "Well, if you're looking for strong crewmates, I've heard Roronoa Zoro is being held prisoner nearby." "Zoro? The bounty hunter?" Luffy's eyes lit up. "Sounds interesting. Let's go." The marine base in Shell's town loomed above them as Luffy and Kobe walked through the marketplace. "They say Roronoa Zoro is being held here," Kobe whispered. "He's dangerous. A demon in human form." Sounds perfect for my crew. Luffy grinned. You can't be serious. He's a bounty hunter, not a pirate. Details, Luffy waved dismissively. I'll convince him. They reached the marine base wall, and Luffy immediately scaled it to peek over. Tied to a post in the yard was a man in a green haramaki and bandana, head bowed under the scorching sun. That him? Luffy asked, pointing. Don't point. Kobe hissed. Yes, that's Zoro. He's been tied up for weeks without food or water. They say he'll be executed in a few days. A ladder clunked against the wall beside them, and a small girl climbed up, carrying a bundle. She pressed a finger to her lips, then dropped down into the execution yard. Hey! Get back here. Kobe panicked. She'll be killed. Let's see what happens, Luffy watched curiously. The girl approached Zoro, offering what appeared to be rice balls. They spoke briefly before a flamboyantly dressed man with a bowl cut entered with marine escorts. That's Captain Morgan's son, Helmeppo. A nearby villager whispered. They watched in horror as Helmeppo stomped on the girl's rice balls, then ordered a marine to throw her over the wall. Room! Luffy extended his spear just in time, catching the flying girl in his power. Shambles! The girl appeared safely beside him rather than crashing to the ground. She blinked in confusion. How did I? Are you okay? Luffy asked, helping her up. Why yes. Thank you. She looked back at the wall. But Zoro. He's been tied up for weeks because of me. Because of you? Kobe asked. The girl, Rika, explained how Zoro had defended her from Helmeppo's wild wolf, and agreed to survive a month tied up without food to spare her family. And he ate my dirty rice ball, she finished sadly. Even after that mean man stepped on it. Luffy's expression hardened. He sounds like a good guy to me. He vaulted over the wall. Luffy, wait. Kobe called futilely. Luffy approached Zoro, who lifted his head weakly. What do you want? Another marine come to gawk. I'm no marine, Luffy replied. I'm a pirate. A pirate? Zoro snorted. Even worse. Get lost. I heard you're strong. What's it to you? I want you to join my crew. Luffy declared. Zoro stared, then laughed hoarsely. You're out of your mind. I'm no pirate. You're tied to a pole in a marine yard, Luffy pointed out. Not much of a bounty hunter right now. I made a promise. 1 month. 3 more days and I'm free. Luffy folded his arms. That's not what Helmeppo is saying. I heard him bragging in town that he's executing you tomorrow. Zoro's head snapped up. What? He never planned to keep his word, Luffy said seriously. So your promise means nothing. Rage flickered in Zoro's eyes. That bastard. I could free you right now, Luffy offered. But I have a condition. What condition? Join my crew. Luffy grinned. Be my first mate. Zoro studied him. What kind of pirate crew? The kind that's going to find the One Piece. I'm going to be king of the pirates. Despite his weakened state, Zoro barked out a laugh. You're either the bravest or the stupidest pirate I've ever met. So. What'll it be? Before Zoro could answer, Marines surrounded them, rifles aimed. Step away from the prisoner. Helmeppo ordered, strutting forward. Father has ordered his execution today. See? Luffy said to Zoro. Told you. Damn it, Zoro muttered. My swords. If I had my 3 swords. 3 swords. Where are they? That bastard took them. They're probably in his room. Luffy grinned. Be right back. Halt, the Marines shouted as Luffy sprinted toward the base. Room. The blue sphere expanded, encompassing several Marines. Shambles. Suddenly the Marines found themselves facing each other, their positions switched. In the confusion, Luffy disappeared into the base. What was that? Zoro stared after him. What kind of power? Inside the base, Luffy created more chaos, switching Marines' positions, disassembling and reassembling doors, and generally causing confusion as he searched for Helmeppo's room. He found the man himself cowering in a hallway and grabbed him by the collar. Where are Zoro's swords? And my room? Don't hurt me. Luffy dragged him along until they reached an ornate room with 3 swords leaning against the wall. All 3 of these his? Luffy asked. Why yes. Now let me go. Thanks. Luffy grabbed the swords and ran to the window. Outside, he could see Marines aiming rifles at Zoro. Gotta hurry. Room. He created his largest sphere yet, encompassing the entire execution yard. Shambles. In an instant, he swapped places with a Marine standing near Zoro, the 3 swords now in his hand. What the? Captain Morgan roared, a massive axe replacing his right hand. Shoot them both. Here. Luffy tossed the swords to Zoro. Cut me loose first, idiot. Zoro shouted as Marines took aim. Fire. Morgan ordered. Tact. Luffy separated all the bullets from their trajectories, leaving them suspended in midair. Everyone froze, staring at the floating bullets. What devil power is this? Morgan demanded. The Ope Ope no Mi, Luffy answered casually, slicing through Zoro's ropes with a precise gesture. I'm a surgeon man. Ope Ope. Morgan's eyes widened. The ultimate devil fruit? Impossible. Freed, Zoro grabbed his swords, placing one in each hand and the third in his mouth. I'll deal with the small fry. You take the captain. Deal. Luffy grinned. With a reverse sweep of his hand, Luffy sent the suspended bullets flying harmlessly into the sky. Zoro moved like lightning despite his weakened state, disarming Marines without killing them. Morgan charged at Luffy, axe hand raised. Die, pirate scum. Room. Luffy created a smaller, more focused sphere. As Morgan swung, Luffy flicked his fingers. Tact. Morgan's axe hand separated from his arm, floating in the air. My axe. Morgan stared in horror. No, Luffy corrected. Your hand. Let me fix that for you. With intricate finger movements, Luffy disassembled the axe from Morgan's prosthetic, reconstructing a crude but functional hand from the metal components. There. Much better for hugging your kids, Luffy declared. You. Morgan sputtered in rage and confusion. Oh, still wanna fight? Okay. Luffy reared back and delivered a simple, devastating punch to Morgan's jaw, sending him crashing to the ground. The Marine stared, then erupted in cheers. Captain Morgan is defeated. We're free. Zoro collapsed, exhausted from weeks without food. Luffy caught him before he hit the ground. Food first, then we set sail. Luffy announced. After a massive meal at Rika's mother's restaurant, Zoro leaned back, patting his stomach. So you really ate a devil fruit, huh? I've heard rumors about them. Yep. Luffy created a small room above the table, manipulating cutlery into different patterns. The Ope Ope no Mi. That captain seemed to recognize it, Kobe observed. My grandpa told me it's super valuable, Luffy explained. The world government really wants it because it can make someone immortal or something. Zoro choked on his drink. Immortal? You're kidding. Nope. But it kills the user, so I'm never doing that. Luffy declared firmly. Good to know, Zoro muttered. So, you're officially my first crewmate. Luffy grinned. The first of many for the future Pirate King's crew. Zoro smirked. Well, I did promise. And if you're aiming for the top, that means Mihawk is on your path too. Works for me. As they prepared to leave, Kobe approached nervously. Thank you for everything, Luffy. You've inspired me to chase my dream of becoming a Marine. A Marine, huh? Luffy smiled. Just make sure you're one of the good ones. I will. Their farewell was interrupted by a Marine officer. Is it true you're pirates? Luffy nodded proudly. Yep. Just getting started though. Only got one crewmate so far. The officer straightened. Then I must ask you to leave immediately. We're grateful for your help with Morgan, but we cannot be seen harboring pirates. Fair enough. Luffy turned to Kobe. This guy's not with us. He wants to be a Marine. Understanding the hint, the officer nodded. We'll consider his application then. As they sailed away, Zoro asked, Where to now, Captain? Luffy grinned, adjusting his straw hat. Wherever adventure takes us. We need a navigator though. And a proper ship, Zoro added, looking dubiously at their small boat. Details. Luffy laughed. The Pirate King's journey has officially begun. Their journey led them to Orange Town, where they encountered a thieving navigator named Nami who hated pirates but loved money. Luffy immediately decided she would join his crew, despite her vehement refusals. I hate pirates more than anything, she declared after Luffy saved her from Buggy's men. But I love money. If we work together temporarily, we can steal Buggy's treasure. Or, Luffy suggested, you could be my navigator and get a share of all the treasure we find. Not happening. Nami snapped. Pirates killed someone important to me. I'll never be one. Their argument was interrupted when Buggy's men captured Luffy, who allowed himself to be taken to meet the infamous Buggy the Clown. Buggy's gaudy tent was filled with treasures and circus-themed pirates. The man himself had a large red nose and blue hair, with separated floating body parts showing his devil fruit power. So you're the brat causing trouble. Buggy sneered. Prepare to die spectacularly. You can separate your body parts too? Luffy asked excitedly. Check this out. Room. The blue sphere expanded, and Luffy separated his own arm, letting it float beside him. Buggy's jaw dropped. The Ope Ope know me? The surgeon fruit? Yep. I'm a surgeon man. Luffy grinned, reattaching his arm. Interesting. I have the Bara Bara no Mi, I'm a chop chop man. My body parts can't be cut. Wanna test that? Luffy's eyes gleamed with challenge. You dare challenge the great Captain Buggy? The clown roared. Men. Prepare the Buggy Ball. A massive cannon was wheeled out, loaded with a special red cannonball. This can destroy an entire town. Buggy cackled. Fire. Room. Luffy's sphere encompassed the cannon. Tact. The Buggy Ball separated from its trajectory, hovering in midair. What are you doing? Buggy demanded. Luffy grinned. Improving it. With intricate finger movements, he disassembled the explosive components inside the cannonball, rearranging them. There. Now it's a Buggy firecracker. He released the modified ball, which flew erratically into the air before exploding in a spectacular but harmless display of colorful sparks. My Buggy Ball. Buggy screeched. How dare you? I thought I made it better, Luffy shrugged. More festive. Enraged, Buggy attacked, sending his separated hands flying with knives between the fingers. Chop chop cannon. Shambles. Luffy switched places with one of Buggy's crew, causing the knives to hit the pirate instead. Captain. Watch where you're aiming, the unfortunate victim cried. That wasn't me. Buggy protested. Zoro burst into the tent, swords drawn. Need a hand, Captain? Nah, I got this. Luffy faced Buggy. So your body can't be cut, huh? What about this? He created another room. Tact. Instead of cutting, Luffy completely disassembled Buggy's already separated body parts, rearranging them in midair like a macabre puzzle. What are you doing? Buggy shrieked as his hands were attached to his feet, his nose to his elbow, and various other mismatched combinations. Just experimenting. Luffy replied cheerfully. Let's see if you can pull yourself together after this. With a final gesture, Luffy reassembled Buggy in a completely incorrect arrangement, then dropped his room. Buggy fell to the ground, a jumbled mess of misplaced body parts. I can't move properly. What have you done to me? I guess I got the assembly instructions wrong, Luffy scratched his head. You might want to see a real doctor about that. Nami appeared, dragging a sack of stolen treasure. Let's go. I got what we came for. They fled as Buggy's crew tried desperately to sort out their captain's rearranged body. That was amazing. Nami exclaimed once they were safely away. You completely neutralized his devil fruit advantage. It was pretty fun, Luffy admitted. So, joining my crew now? I told you, I hate pirates. Nami insisted. But I suppose we could form a temporary partnership. Just until I get enough money. That's basically joining, Luffy grinned. Welcome aboard, navigator. Nami rolled her eyes but couldn't hide a small smile. Whatever. Just remember our deal, I get all the treasure. Sure, Luffy agreed easily. Now we need a proper ship. Their next adventure led them to Syrup Village, where they met a long-nosed liar named Usopp who spun tales of bravery and adventure. I am Captain Usopp. Commander of 8,000 men, he declared, knees shaking despite his boast. Really? That's awesome. Luffy's eyes sparkled. He's obviously lying, Nami sighed. I know, Luffy grinned. But he's funny. Usopp led them to a small restaurant where he told them about Kaya, a wealthy but sickly girl who lived in the mansion on the hill. Her butler, Klahadore, hated Usopp for filling her head with dangerous fantasies. He doesn't understand that my stories make her happy, Usopp explained sadly. You care about her a lot, huh? Luffy observed. Of course. She's been depressed since her parents died. My stories are the only thing that make her smile. Luffy tilted his head thoughtfully. You know, my power might be able to help her. Your power? Usopp questioned. Luffy created a small room between his hands. I ate the Ope Ope no Mi. I'm a surgeon man. Maybe I could see what's making her sick. You're a doctor? Usopp asked skeptically. Well, no, Luffy admitted. But I can move stuff around inside people. Maybe I could find what's wrong. Absolutely not. Nami smacked him. You can't experiment on a sick girl. Fine, Luffy pouted. Let's at least meet her. Maybe she'll give us a ship. They snuck into Kaya's garden, where Usopp usually told his stories through her window. The pale, thin girl was delighted to meet Usopp's pirate friends. So you're really pirates? She asked, eyes wide. Like in Usopp's stories? Yep. Luffy confirmed. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. Their friendly conversation was interrupted by Klahadore, the stern butler with glasses. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. Miss Kaya, you know you shouldn't be exciting yourself with visitors. But Klahadore, they're Usopp's friends. Kaya protested. That makes it worse, the butler sneered. The son of a filthy pirate, corrupting you with lies and now bringing criminal associates. Don't talk about Usopp's father like that. Luffy snapped. Yeah. Usopp added. My father is a brave warrior of the sea. A brave warrior? Klahadore laughed coldly. Usopp is nothing but a filthy pirate who abandoned his family for treasure and violence. Something about the butler bothered Luffy. He created a small, subtle room that encompassed just the man. Scan, he whispered, using a technique he developed to examine objects within his room. What he found surprised him: concealed muscle tone inconsistent with a butler, calluses on the hands typical of a weapon user, and a faint outline of something hidden in his coat. "You're not just a butler, are you?" Luffy asked suddenly. Klahadore's eyes narrowed. "What nonsense is this?" "Your body," Luffy pointed. "It's too trained for just serving tea." A flash of something dangerous crossed Klahadore's face before he composed himself. "How absurd. Now leave before I call the authorities." They were forced to retreat, but Usopp was deeply upset. "He always treats me like dirt, but he's never insulted my father like that before." "There's something off about him," Luffy insisted. "Let's keep an eye on him." Later, they discovered Klahadore meeting with a strange hypnotist at the shore. Hidden in the bushes, they overheard their plan. Klahadore was actually Captain Kuro, an infamous pirate presumed dead years ago. He planned to kill Kaya and inherit her fortune after spending 3 years earning her trust as her butler. "We have to warn her," Usopp cried after they retreated. "She won't believe us," Nami pointed out. "She trusts Klahadore completely. Then we'll stop him ourselves," Luffy declared. "His crew is attacking tomorrow at dawn, right? We'll be waiting." The next morning, they prepared to defend the North Shore, where Kuro said his crew would attack. But as hours passed with no sign of pirates, Luffy realized their mistake. "They're attacking from the south. They knew we were listening." They raced to the south shore, finding Usopp injured and Kuro's crew advancing toward the village. Luffy, Zoro, and Nami joined the fight while Usopp rushed to warn Kaya. During the battle, the hypnotist Django used his pendulum to enhance the Black Cat pirate's strength. When he tried to hypnotize Luffy, something unexpected happened. "Look at the pendulum," Django intoned. "When I say 1, 2, Django, you'll fall asleep." Room. Luffy created a sphere encompassing himself and Django. "Let's try something." As Django swung his pendulum, Luffy used his power. Tact. He separated the hypnotic suggestion from its trajectory, redirecting it back at Django. 1, 2, Django, the hypnotist declared, then immediately collapsed, sound asleep. "Whoa! I didn't know I could do that," Luffy exclaimed excitedly. "What did you just do?" Zoro asked, cutting down another pirate. "I think I redirected his hypnosis back at him." Luffy grinned. "This fruit is so cool." Their advantage was short-lived as Captain Kuro himself arrived, furious that his perfect plan was being delayed. He wore gloves with long, sword-like blades on each finger. 3 years of careful planning, ruined by children, he seethed. "I'll kill you all myself." "So you're the real Kuro," Luffy faced him. "The butler who wants to kill his own mistress." "Butler was merely a role I played," Kuro adjusted his glasses with his palm, avoiding his blade fingers. "A means to an end. Pirates are savages who chase bounties and treasure without thought. I prefer a more civilized approach to wealth acquisition." "You're still just a pirate," Luffy stated flatly. "Except you're a coward who won't admit it." Kuro's face contorted with rage. "How dare you? I'll show you my most fearsome technique." He disappeared in a burst of speed so incredible he seemed to vanish. "Shikushi," one of his terrified crewmen whispered. "He moves so fast no one can see him. He can't even control who he cuts." Room. Luffy created his largest sphere yet, encompassing the entire battlefield. Scan. Within his room, Luffy could sense every movement, including Kuro's high-speed dash. As the captain zigzagged invisibly, cutting down his own men indiscriminately, Luffy tracked his presence. There you are. Luffy pointed to empty air, then Kuro appeared, frozen mid-stride. What? How did you? Kuro couldn't complete his sentence as Luffy's power took hold. Tact. Luffy separated Kuro's bladed gloves from his hands. Those are dangerous. You could hurt yourself. My cat claws. Kuro stared at his bare hands in shock. You know what's funny? Luffy approached slowly. You look down on pirates, but at least they're honest about what they are. You've been living a lie for 3 years, planning to betray someone who trusts you. That's way worse. You couldn't possibly understand my sophisticated plan. Kuro snarled. I've had enough of the pirate life, the constant pursuit, the mindless violence. I created the perfect scheme for retirement. By killing an innocent girl who cared for you, Luffy's voice hardened. You're just a different kind of trash. Luffy reared back and delivered a devastating punch to Kuro's face, sending him flying. The man struggled to his feet, blood streaming from his broken nose. I am Captain Kuro. I won't be defeated by some no-name pirate. I'm Monkey D. Luffy, he replied calmly. And I'm going to be king of the pirates. Kuro charged in blind fury. Luffy waited until the last moment, then created a focused room. Counter-shock. Electricity-like energy surged from Luffy's palm into Kuro's chest. The captain convulsed violently, then collapsed unconscious. Zoro whistled. That's new. Been practicing, Luffy grinned. Can't always rely on punching. With Kuro defeated, his crew fled, taking their unconscious captain with them. Usopp returned with Kaya, who had escaped from the mansion when another pirate had tried to kill her. You saved the village, she said gratefully. How can I ever thank you? Luffy's stomach growled loudly. Got any meat? Later, after a feast prepared by the grateful villagers, Kaya approached them with a surprise. I have a gift for you, she led them to the shore, where a caravel with a sheep figurehead waited. It's called the Going Merry. It belonged to my family, but I want you to have it for your journey. A real pirate ship. Luffy's eyes sparkled. It's perfect. As they prepared to depart, Usopp appeared with a massive backpack. Well, this is goodbye, he declared. I'm off to become a brave warrior of the sea. Maybe we'll meet again someday. What are you talking about? Luffy tilted his head. Just get on the ship already. Huh? Usopp blinked. You're part of my crew now, Luffy stated as if it were obvious. Our sharpshooter and storyteller. Usopp's eyes filled with tears. Really? You want me to join you? Of course. Now hurry up before we leave without you. With a whoop of joy, Usopp bounded onto the Going Merry. As they sailed away, Luffy stood at the bow, grinning broadly. Look out, Grand Line. The future Pirate King is coming. The Going Merry sailed smoothly under Nami's expert navigation. Luffy sat cross-legged on the sheep figurehead, his favorite spot, while Zoro napped against the mast. Usopp tinkered with his slingshot ammunition, and Nami charted their course. We need a cook, Luffy announced suddenly. Someone who can make amazing meat dishes. And some actual furniture would be nice, Nami added. This ship is great, but it needs supplies. There's a restaurant ship called the Baratai not far from here, Usopp suggested. I've heard they have the best food in the East Blue. A floating restaurant? Luffy's eyes lit up. That's our next stop. They set course for the Baratai, but their journey was interrupted by the arrival of a small boat carrying a single swordsman. It's Johnny. Zoro sat up, recognizing his old bounty hunting associate. Johnny was in tears, explaining that his partner Yasaku was deathly ill. They brought the sick man aboard, where his symptoms, bleeding gums, lethargy, and old wounds reopening, puzzled everyone except Nami. It's scurvy, she diagnosed. He needs citrus fruits immediately. While they treated Yasaku with lime juice, Luffy examined him with his rune scan, he murmured, his brow furrowing in concentration. Nami's right. His blood isn't working properly. You can see that? Nami asked, impressed despite herself. Luffy nodded. The Ope Ope no Mi lets me see inside people. I can tell something's missing, but I don't know enough about medicine to fix it. That's why we need a ship's doctor eventually, Nami noted. Your power could work with a doctor's knowledge. Maybe, Luffy agreed. But first, let's find our cook. The Baratai came into view the next day, a massive floating restaurant shaped like a fish. As they approached, they noticed a marine ship alongside it. Lieutenant Fullbody, Johnny informed them. Bad news, Straw Hat. He's tough. As if on cue, the marine ship fired a cannonball toward them. Luffy leapt to his feet. Room. His blue sphere expanded to catch the projectile. Tact. He disassembled the cannonball in midair, rendering it harmless, but in his excitement, he lost control of its trajectory. The parts flew straight toward the Baratai, crashing through the roof. Oops, Luffy grimaced. They docked alongside the restaurant, and Luffy went inside to apologize. The interior was elegant, with white tablecloths and well-dressed waiters. The head chef, a large man with braided mustaches and a tall hat, was furious. You broke my roof, he roared, wooden leg stomping. You'll work here until you've paid off the damage. But I'm a pirate. I can't stay here. Luffy protested. Should have thought of that before you attacked my restaurant. The chef, introducing himself as Zeph, dragged Luffy toward the kitchen. Inside, chaos reigned as Lieutenant Fullbody was being kicked out by a blonde waiter in a suit. No one wastes food in this restaurant, the waiter growled, his visible eye fierce beneath his curly eyebrow. You'll regret this. I'm a Marine lieutenant. Fullbody threatened. Like I care, the waiter straightened his tie. The only ranking that matters here is cooking skill. Impressed by the waiter's attitude, Luffy approached him after Fullbody left in humiliation. That was awesome. You're really strong. The blonde looked him over. Thanks. I'm Sanji, sous chef of the Baratai. You the cannon guy? Yeah, sorry about that, Luffy grinned sheepishly. I'm Monkey D. Luffy, future king of the pirates. Big dreams, Sanji commented, lighting a cigarette. Well, if you're working here, grab an apron. Dish duty is through there. For the next few days, Luffy worked as a chore boy, breaking more dishes than he cleaned. His crew visited regularly, enjoying Sanji's cooking while teasing Luffy about his predicament. This food is amazing. Nami exclaimed, expertly manipulating Sanji with her feminine charms. Melarine. Sanji twirled around her table. Anything for you, Nami Swan. Luffy watched Sanji carefully. Despite his flirtatious behavior with female customers, he noticed that Sanji never wasted food, served even the poorest customers with quality meals, and seemed to have a powerful fighting style using only his legs. Join my crew. Luffy declared during a break. Be my cook. Not happening, Sanji refused flatly. I have a debt to pay to the old man. Before Luffy could argue, a commotion erupted in the dining room. A starving pirate had collapsed at a table, begging for food. Get out. We don't serve broke pirates, one chef shouted. To everyone's surprise, Sanji emerged with a steaming plate of food, placing it before the starving man. Eat, he said simply. Sanji. We can't feed every penniless pirate. Patty, another chef, protested. I don't care, Sanji replied. No one starves on my watch. The pirate, Jin, ate gratefully, then warned them that his captain, Don Krieg, would be coming soon, and that everyone should flee before he arrived. Don Krieg? Zoro perked up. The pirate admiral, with a fleet of 50 ships. The very same, Jin confirmed. Though we've fallen on hard times recently. After Jin left, Luffy cornered Sanji in the kitchen. You're a good guy, feeding him like that. Sanji blew out cigarette smoke. Hunger is the worst pain in the world. I would never let anyone starve. You'd be perfect for my crew, Luffy insisted. Great cooking, strong fighter, kind heart. I told you, I can't leave, Sanji's expression darkened. I owe Zeph everything. Why? Luffy asked simply. Sanji hesitated, then shared his story, how Zeph had saved him from starvation on a desolate rock, sacrificing his own leg for food, and how they'd started the Baratai together to feed all hungry sailors, regardless of allegiance. That's why I can never leave, Sanji concluded. Not until I've repaid my debt. Before Luffy could respond, the restaurant doors burst open. Don Krieg had arrived, massive and armored, but weakened from starvation. Jin supported him, begging for food. Please. Our captain is starving. After that, we'll leave peacefully, I swear. Despite warnings from the other chefs, Sanji prepared a meal and brought it to Krieg. The moment the pirate admiral regained his strength, he attacked, demanding the restaurant. This ship will replace my flagship, he declared. And you'll all serve as my crew. That's how you repay kindness. Luffy stood before him, arms crossed. By attacking the people who fed you. Kindness is weakness, Krieg sneered. I take what I want. And once I have this ship, I'll return to the Grand Line and find the One Piece. The Grand Line. Luffy's interest piqued. You've been there. Krieg's expression darkened. My fleet of 50 ships was destroyed in 7 days by a single man. A demon with hawk-eyes who cut ships like paper. Hawk-eyes? Zoro pushed forward. Dracul Mihawk. You know him. Krieg narrowed his eyes. He's the man I've sworn to defeat, Zoro's hand rested on his white katana. The restaurant erupted into chaos as Krieg's men attacked. Luffy created a room encompassing the dining area. Tact. He separated the weapons from the pirates' hands, leaving them floating harmlessly above. What sorcery is this? Krieg demanded. The Ope Ope know me, Luffy explained. I'm a surgeon man. Recognition flashed in Krieg's eyes. The operation fruit. Worth billions to the government. This day gets better and better. The battle was interrupted by a bone-chilling sound, the slicing of a massive galleon outside. Everyone rushed to see a single man in a small boat, wielding an enormous black sword, who had cut Don Krieg's flagship in half. That's him, Krieg whispered, uncharacteristic fear in his voice. Hawkeye's Mihawk. Zoro immediately challenged the warlord, but was defeated in seconds, receiving a massive wound across his chest. Luffy had to restrain himself from interfering, this was Zoro's fight, his dream. Why didn't you finish me? Zoro asked, holding his broken swords. I see potential in you, Mihawk replied coolly. Live and grow stronger, young swordsman. As Mihawk departed, Krieg attacked him, but the warlord brushed him off like an annoying insect. With his flagship destroyed, Krieg turned his rage on the Baratai. I'll take this ship and the Ope Ope no Mi user, he declared. Luffy faced him on the floating deck outside the restaurant. You'll have to go through me first. Krieg laughed, revealing his arsenal of hidden weapons, guns, poison gas, explosives, and his massive spiked cape that doubled as a shield. I have the most powerful weapons in the East Blue. What chance does a devil fruit rookie have? Luffy created a room encompassing them both. Let's find out. Krieg fired his gun, but Luffy separated the bullets from their path with a casual gesture. What? Krieg fired again with the same result. My turn, Luffy grinned. Shambles. He swapped positions with Krieg, appearing behind him. Before the pirate admiral could turn, Luffy struck with a powerful punch to his back. Krieg staggered but didn't fall, his armor absorbing much of the impact. Is that all you've got? He swung his cape shield, its spikes gleaming in the sun. Luffy dodged, but Krieg followed up with a barrage of small bombs. MH5. Krieg launched a poison gas canister. Room. Luffy expanded his sphere. Tact. He contained the gas within his power, compressing it into a harmless ball, then sent it flying into the ocean. Impressive, Krieg acknowledged. But can you handle this? He assembled a massive spear from hidden components, its tip exploding on impact. When he thrust it at Luffy, the young pirate didn't dodge. Tact. The spear separated in midair, its components floating harmlessly around Luffy. My battle spear. Krieg gasped. Put it back together. Nah, Luffy reassembled the parts into a pretzel shape. I like it better this way. Enraged, Krieg charged, his spiked cape raised. Luffy waited until the last moment. Counter shock. His palm connected with Krieg's chest, sending electricity-like energy through a gap in the armor. Krieg convulsed and fell to his knees, but his armor had absorbed much of the attack. Is that all? He wheezed, struggling to his feet. Not quite, Luffy focused his room more intensely. Scan. He examined Krieg's armor, finding its weak points and connections. With precise movements, he disassembled the armor piece by piece, leaving Krieg defenseless. My what's steel armor? Krieg watched in horror as his protection floated away in pieces. Armor is for people who are afraid to get hurt, Luffy stated. Are you afraid, Pirate Admiral? With a roar of rage, Krieg attacked bare-handed. Luffy met him with a direct punch to the face, using his natural strength rather than his devil fruit. Krieg crashed to the deck, finally unconscious. The remaining Krieg pirates retreated, taking their defeated captain with them. As the battle ended, Sanji approached Luffy, a new respect in his eyes. That was impressive, using your power that way. Luffy grinned. See why you should join my crew? We have awesome adventures. Before Sanji could respond, Zeph interrupted. Just go with him, Eggplant. What? Sanji turned. I can't leave you, old man. Not after everything, you've repaid your debt 1,000 times over, Zeph stated gruffly. This restaurant is my dream. What about yours? The all blue. Sanji fell silent, conflict evident on his face. A cook who can't pursue his dream is just a shell, Zeph continued. Go find the all blue with these pirates. That's an order from your head chef. Tears welled in Sanji's eyes. After an emotional farewell that left not a dry eye in the Baratai, he joined the Straw Hat crew as their cook. Now we're 5. Luffy cheered as they sailed away. Just need a doctor, a shipwright, a musician. One thing at a time, Nami laughed. Where to next? Luffy adjusted his straw hat, eyes gleaming with adventure. Wherever the sea takes us. As they sailed from the Baratai, Nami became increasingly distracted, studying a wanted poster hidden in her charts. When she thought no one was looking, she stole the Going Merry in the middle of the night, leaving the others stranded. She stole our ship. Usopp wailed. And all our treasure. She must have had a reason, Luffy insisted, unusually serious. Nami's our friend. Using the coordinates Johnny and Yasaku provided, they followed her to Kokoyashi village, home of the Arlong pirates, feared fishmen who controlled the entire region through terror and extortion. Arlong Nassau, Johnny explained. Worth 20 million berries, but no bounty hunter dares challenge him. His crew is from Fishman Island, 10 times stronger than humans. Nami was seen entering Arlong Park, Yasaku added. Some villagers say she's part of his crew. I don't believe it, Luffy stated flatly. Let's find her. They snuck into the village, learning a horrifying truth. Nami's adoptive mother had been killed by Arlong years ago, and the navigator had made a deal with the fishman, collect 100 million berries to buy her village's freedom. For 8 years, she'd worked as Arlong's cartographer while secretly stealing from pirates to accumulate the needed sum. She was nearly there when Arlong betrayed her, having a corrupt marine, Captain Nezumi, confiscate her hard-earned treasure. They found Nami in the tangerine grove beside her childhood home, repeatedly stabbing her Arlong tattoo, tears streaming down her face. Luffy. She sobbed when she saw him. Help me. That was all he needed to hear. Placing his straw hat on her head, Luffy marched toward Arlong Park with Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp. What can we expect from these fishmen? Sanji asked. They're aquatic, so they're stronger in water, Usopp explained nervously. And naturally much stronger than humans even on land. Don't care, Luffy cracked his knuckles. They made Nami cry. They arrived at Arlong Park, a massive compound with a pool in the center connecting to the ocean. Luffy didn't bother with subtlety, he kicked down the massive gate. Which one of you is Arlong? He shouted. A massive blue-skinned fish man with a sawfish nose lounged on a throne-like chair. That would be me. Who dares enter my park? I'm Monkey D. Luffy, he replied, marching forward. You made my navigator cry. I'm here to make you pay. Arlong laughed, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. A human challenging fishmen? How amusing. Do you know why we're superior? Don't know, don't care, Luffy interrupted, stopping directly in front of him. Room. The blue sphere expanded to encompass the entire courtyard. Arlong's eyes widened. What is this? Tact. Luffy made a pulling motion, and Arlong's saw-like nose separated from his face, floating in midair. My nose. Arlong roared in shock and rage. Looks dangerous, Luffy observed casually. You might hurt yourself. The other fishmen attacked, Kurubi the ray fishman, Chu the smeltwhip fishman, and Hatchan the octopus fishman, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp engaged them while Luffy focused on Arlong. What have you done to me? Arlong demanded, reaching for his floating nose. Just a little surgery, Luffy replied. Want it back? With a gesture, he reattached Arlong's nose, upside down. There. Much safer this way. Arlong's fury reached new heights. He charged blindly, trying to bite Luffy with his massive jaws. Luffy easily dodged, using his room to keep repositioning himself. Shambles. Suddenly Arlong found himself biting empty air while Luffy appeared above him. You're not very smart, are you? Luffy observed. Using brute strength when it clearly isn't working. Don't you dare look down on me, human. Arlong snarled. We fishmen are the evolved species. He dove into the pool, disappearing beneath the water. Luffy frowned, water was his weakness as a devil fruit user, and Arlong's advantage. Hiding underwater. That's cowardly. Luffy called. Arlong burst from the water like a missile, jaws open wide. Shark on darts. Room. Luffy's sphere expanded just in time. Tact. He separated Arlong's trajectory, causing the fishman to miss his target and crash into a column. Stay still, human. Arlong hissed, blood trickling from his misaligned nose. Make me, Luffy challenged. Enraged beyond reason, Arlong retrieved a massive serrated sword called Kiribachi from his fallen comrade Hatchan. He swung wildly, destroying columns and walls with each strike. I'll slice you to pieces. Room. Luffy encompassed both of them in his sphere. Scan. He examined Arlong's anatomy, identifying the unique fishman physiology, reinforced skeleton, powerful muscles, and gills that allowed water breathing. Interesting, Luffy murmured. Let's try something. As Arlong swung again, Luffy raised his hand. Tact. The sword separated into its component parts, floating harmlessly. Another weapon. Luffy sighed. Boring. I don't need weapons to kill you. Arlong charged, attempting to bite Luffy with his fearsome teeth. Those look painful, Luffy noted, dodging. Let me help. Shambles. Suddenly, Arlong's teeth vanished from his mouth, appearing in Luffy's hand. Give those back. Arlong demanded, his speech slurred without teeth. Don't worry, they'll grow back, right? Luffy tossed the teeth aside. That's your special fishman ability, isn't it? Arlong roared in wordless rage, charging with renewed fury. Luffy avoided him easily, leading the fishman toward the tall building at the back of the park. What's in there? Luffy asked, gesturing to the structure. Arlong's eyes narrowed. Nami's workroom. Where she draws her precious maps for me. So that's where you kept her prisoner, Luffy's voice hardened. I'd like to see it. He entered the building, climbing the stairs to find a room filled with navigational equipment, charts, and maps, all produced by Nami during her years of captivity. Bloodstains marked the desk where she had worked tirelessly under Arlong's demands. Something snapped in Luffy as he surveyed the room. This wasn't just a workspace, it was a prison. Nami's tears, her suffering, her desperate plea for help, all because of this room and the fishman who had kept her here. When Arlong entered behind him, Luffy didn't turn around. She worked here for 8 years. Of course, Arlong grinned maliciously. Her cartography skills are worth more than her life. She's a tool, nothing more. A tool? Luffy's voice was quiet, dangerous. Humans are worthless except for their specialized skills, Arlong continued, oblivious to the growing danger. Nami is my prized possession. She'll draw maps for me for the rest of her life. Luffy turned slowly, his eyes shadowed by his hair. She'll never draw another map for you. Room. The blue sphere expanded to encompass the entire building. TKT. With a wrenching gesture, Luffy began disassembling the room, the desk, the pens, the charts, all separating into their component parts. What are you doing? Arlong rushed forward, but Luffy held him in place with his power. Freeing Nami, Luffy replied simply. With another gesture, he began reassembling the parts, not into their original form, but into a chaotic jumble that pushed against the walls and ceiling. The structure groaned under the pressure of Luffy's power-induced reconfiguration. Cracks appeared in the walls as Luffy continued his assault, not on Arlong directly, but on the physical manifestation of Nami's prison. Stop! Arlong struggled against the invisible force holding him. No, Luffy's voice was calm but implacable. This ends now. With a final, massive effort, Luffy pushed the reconfigured materials outward with explosive force. The building shuddered, then collapsed in a spectacular implosion, taking Arlong Park down with it. When the dust settled, Luffy stood amid the rubble, holding an unconscious Arlong by his misaligned nose. He dropped the fishman unceremoniously before the gathered villagers. Nami is my navigator, he declared. And this island is under my protection now. The villagers erupted in cheers, celebrating their freedom from Arlong's tyranny. Nami found Luffy among the ruins, tears in her eyes, but this time, tears of joy and relief. Thank you, she whispered, returning his straw hat. Luffy grinned. That's what friends are for. News of Arlong's defeat spread quickly. By the time they were ready to leave Kokoyashi village, Marine Lieutenant Commander Nezumi had already sent a report to headquarters. As they sailed away, Johnny presented them with alarming news. You've got a bounty, Straw Hat. 30 million berries. 30 million. Usopp gasped. That's higher than Arlong's. Luffy examined his wanted poster with pride. Look. My first bounty poster. The image showed him grinning widely, creating a room with one hand. The text below read, Wanted, dead or alive. Monkey D. Surgeon of Liberty Luffy. 30 million berries. Surgeon of Liberty? Zoro raised an eyebrow. I like it. Luffy laughed. Makes me sound cool. This is serious. Nami smacked him. That's an unusually high first bounty for the East Blue. It must be because of your devil fruit. Sanji lit a cigarette. The Marines know you have the Ope Ope no Mi now. Luffy just grinned wider. Good. That means we're getting noticed. Next stop, the Grand Line. As they set course for Reverse Mountain, the gateway to the Grand Line, none of them noticed the Marine ship tracking them from a distance. On its deck, Surgeon General Kuratsuki studied Luffy's wanted poster with cold intensity. After all these years, he murmured, I've found you again, boy. The world government's most coveted power. He folded the poster carefully, placing it in his coat pocket. Enjoy your freedom while you can, Surgeon of Liberty. Our paths will cross again soon. The Going Merry sailed on, carrying the Straw Hat Pirates toward greater adventures and challenges. With each island, Luffy's mastery of the Ope Ope no Mi grew, as did his reputation. But the shadows of those who sought his power lengthened behind him, threatening the freedom he cherished above all else. For now, though, the sea was vast, his crew was strong, and his dream burned brighter than ever. Monkey D. Luffy, the Surgeon of Liberty, was on his way to becoming king of the pirates, one room at a time. Chapter 2, Operating in the Grand Line. The Going Merry approached Reverse Mountain, the single entrance to the Grand Line from the East Blue. Massive currents surged toward the towering Red Rock Formation, threatening to dash their small ship against the stone. We need to hit that canal exactly right. Nami shouted over the roaring water, gripping the helm with white knuckles. One mistake and we're smashed to pieces. Luffy stood at the bow, eyes wide with excitement. The entrance to the Grand Line. We made it. The current seized them, hurling the Merry toward the mountain at terrifying speed. They scraped the sides of the narrow canal, wood screaming against stone as they shot upward against gravity. We're going up the mountain. Usopp cried, clinging to the mast. Physics is weird here, Sanji muttered, bracing himself. Zoro simply grinned, the thrill of danger energizing him. They crested the peak, momentarily airborne, then plummeted down the other side with stomach-dropping speed. As they raced down the mountain canal, a massive shadow loomed in their path. Something's blocking the exit. Nami screamed. It's a whale. Sanji pointed at the enormous creature whose bulk completely covered the canal's end. We're gonna crash. Usopp wailed. Not today. Luffy thrust out his hand. Room. The blue sphere expanded, encompassing the front of their ship and part of the whale. As they hurtled toward collision, Luffy made a decisive gesture. Shambles. The Going Merry suddenly appeared to the side of the whale, safely in open water. The crew tumbled across the deck from the sudden change in momentum. What just happened? Usopp asked, dazed. I switched our position with part of the water next to the whale, Luffy explained, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort. That was close. The whale, seemingly oblivious to their near collision, let out a mournful cry that shook the air itself. It's crying, Nami realized. Luffy studied the massive creature. Wait, there's something on its side. Painted on the whale's flank was a crude replica of the Jolly Roger from a pirate ship. As they circled cautiously, they spotted a metal door built into the whale's hide. A door? On a whale? Sanji's visible eye widened. Let's check it out. Luffy didn't wait for agreement, creating another room to transport himself to the door. The others followed in a rowboat, still recovering from their brush with destruction. Inside the whale, they discovered a bizarre internal sea complete with a small island and house. There they met Crocus, an elderly doctor who explained the whale, named Laboon, had been waiting 50 years for pirates who had promised to return. He keeps ramming the mountain, trying to break through and find them, Crocus sighed. I've been caring for him from inside, but his heart is broken. They also encountered two suspicious characters, Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine, who'd been attempting to hunt Laboon for meat. After forcing them to abandon their plan, Luffy approached the whale with an unusual solution. "I've got an idea," he told Laboon after they'd exited through the blowhole. Creating a room that encompassed the whale's head, Luffy placed his hands against the scarred flesh. Scan. He explored the whale's internal injuries, accumulated from years of ramming the mountain. With careful concentration, he repaired the worst of the damage. "That'll help with the pain," he told the surprised Crocus. "But I can't fix his heart. That needs something else." Taking a ship's mast that had broken during their journey, Luffy painted his crew's Jolly Roger on it and embedded it in Laboon's head, not deeply enough to truly hurt, but enough to remain in place. "Listen up, whale!" Luffy shouted. "That mark means we've got a promise now. We're going to sail around the Grand Line, and when we come back, we'll have tons of amazing stories. So stop hurting yourself and wait for us." Laboon's massive eyes seemed to understand, and his next cry sounded more hopeful than mournful. As they prepared to depart, Crocus provided them with a log pose, the special compass needed to navigate the Grand Line's magnetic anomalies. Surprisingly, he also offered to let Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine travel with the Straw Hats to their home in Whiskey Peak, as their own boat had been destroyed. "Just don't trust them," Crocus warned Luffy quietly. "They're involved with a dangerous group." "Dangerous is my middle name." Luffy grinned. "Actually, it's D. But close enough." Whiskey Peak welcomed them with surprising enthusiasm. The entire town gathered to celebrate their arrival with a feast and party. While his crew indulged in the festivities, Luffy maintained a subtle room around himself, scanning food and drink for poison. "Something's off about this place," he murmured to Zoro, who nodded imperceptibly. "They're too welcoming to pirates," the swordsman agreed. "Get some rest. I'll keep watch." Later that night, after pretending to pass out from too much food, Luffy observed through half-lidded eyes as the townsfolk revealed themselves as bounty hunters from Baroque Works. Zoro sprang into action, taking down dozens of disguised agents. Rather than immediately joining the fight, Luffy extended a subtle room to examine the entire town. He discovered two powerful presences hiding on a nearby rooftop, one he recognized as Miss Wednesday, now revealed as Nefertari Vivi, Princess of Alabasta Kingdom. The other was a man with explosive powers who called himself Mr. 5. When the Baroque Works officer agents attacked Vivi, Luffy decided to intervene. Room. The blue sphere encompassed the rooftop battle. Shambles. Luffy swapped places with Vivi just as Mr. 5 launched an explosive booger her way. The attack hit Luffy instead, who allowed it to explode against him. "That tickles," Luffy grinned through the smoke. "A devil fruit user?" Mr. 5 backed away. "Who the hell are you?" "Monkey D. Luffy," he introduced himself. "And you're trying to kill my passenger." "She's a traitor to Baroque Works," Mr. 5 spat. "She discovered our leader's identity." "That so?" Luffy looked at Vivi, who clutched a strange duck-like creature protectively. "Sounds like you learned something important, Princess." Vivi's eyes widened. "How did you? Room lets me see lots of things," Luffy tapped his temple. "Like the royal garments under your disguise." The battle that followed was brief but intense. Luffy used his powers to neutralize Mr. 5's explosions by separating the combustion from its trigger, rendering the man's attacks harmless. When Miss Valentine attempted to crush him with her weight-changing ability, Luffy simply created a room and moved her into the ocean. After defeating the officer agents, the Straw Hats learned from Vivi that Baroque Works leader, the warlord Crocodile, planned to overthrow her kingdom by inciting revolution. "He's creating a drought and blaming my father," Vivi explained desperately. "I need to return home and warn everyone before civil war breaks out. Then we'll take you," Luffy decided immediately. "Sounds like an adventure." "You can't just decide that." Nami protested. "We'd be going against a warlord." "So?" Luffy picked his nose. "I'm gonna be Pirate King." Gotta beat these guys sooner or later. Their journey to Alabasta took several detours. First was Little Garden, a prehistoric island where they encountered giants Dory and Broggy, locked in a century-long duel of honor. When Mr. 3 of Baroque Works attempted to capture the giants and the Straw Hats for their bounties, Luffy discovered new applications for his powers. As Mr. 3 encased them in his hardening wax, Luffy created a room encompassing the entire wax sculpture. Tact. He separated the wax molecules from around their bodies, freeing them without breaking the sculpture itself. Mr. 3's shocked expression when his captive simply stepped out of his perfect wax prison was priceless. "How did you?" he sputtered. "I just moved the wax," Luffy shrugged, as if it were obvious. "You made it, but now it's in my room, so I control where it goes." Using the wax Mr. 3 had created, Luffy fashioned crude armor for the giants, helping them finish their duel properly, which ended in their first draw in 100 years, finally settling their honor dispute. As a gesture of thanks, the giants directed them toward the next island, but warned of dangerous waters ahead. They had barely left Little Garden when disaster struck. Nami collapsed with a raging fever, her body covered in angry red spots. "She's burning up," Vivi said worriedly, placing a wet cloth on Nami's forehead. "Let me see." Luffy created a gentle room around Nami. Scan. He examined her internal systems, seeing inflammation and what appeared to be bacterial infection, but the specific nature of her illness eluded him. "I can see something's wrong," he frowned, "but I don't know what it is or how to fix it." "You have the operation fruit," Usopp pointed out. "Can't you just operate?" "It doesn't work like that," Luffy's frustration was evident. "I can move things around, cut things apart and put them back together, but I don't know which things to move or cut to make her better." "You need medical knowledge," Sanji concluded, lighting a cigarette. "The power alone isn't enough." Vivi consulted the map. "The next island is Drum Kingdom. They're famous for their doctors. We need to get Nami there immediately." When they reached snow-covered Drum Island, they found a kingdom in turmoil. The king had fled after a pirate attack, leaving the people wary of all outsiders. Despite initial resistance, the islanders allowed them to seek medical help when they saw Nami's condition. "There's only one doctor left on this island," an old man named Dalton told them. "Dr. Kureha, the Witch of the Mountain. She lives at the castle on the peak." "Then that's where we're going," Luffy decided, carefully bundling Nami onto his back. "You can't climb that mountain," Dalton protested. "It's -30 degrees with vertical rock faces and man-eating rabbits." "Watch me," Luffy replied, determined. Sanji insisted on coming too, leaving the others to guard the ship. The journey up the mountain was brutal. Massive carnivorous rabbits attacked them repeatedly, and the cold penetrated to their bones. Even with his room allowing them to bypass some treacherous sections by teleporting short distances, Luffy's stamina began to fail in the extreme conditions. When they finally reached the castle, nearly frozen, they were greeted by an elderly woman drinking plum wine and a small, strange creature that resembled a tanuki. "I'm Dr. Kureha," the woman introduced herself. "And this is my assistant, Tony Chopper." "Please," Luffy gasped through blue lips. "Help our navigator." Kureha examined Nami efficiently, then began treatment for what she identified as 5-day disease, a rare, deadly infection transmitted by prehistoric tick bites. "You got it on Little Garden," she explained. "Without treatment, she'd be dead in 2 more days." While Nami recovered under Kureha's care, Luffy befriended Chopper, discovering the small creature was actually a reindeer who had eaten the human fruit, gaining human intelligence and the ability to transform into different human-reindeer hybrid forms. "That's so cool!" Luffy exclaimed. "You can talk and transform and you're a doctor. Join my crew." "I can't." Chopper panicked, hiding the wrong way behind a door. "I'm a monster. Humans hate me." "I don't hate you," Luffy said simply. "My crew doesn't hate monsters." Zoro's basically a demon when he fights. Sanji's eyebrow is pretty monstrous too. I heard that. Sanji called from the next room. Luffy approached Chopper thoughtfully. Can I try something? Room. The blue sphere encompassed the small doctor. Scan. Luffy examined Chopper's unique physiology, the product of both reindeer biology and devil fruit transformation. Amazing, he murmured. You're perfectly balanced between human and animal. No wonder you're such a good doctor, you understand both perspectives. You can see inside me? Chopper asked, wide-eyed. The Ope Ope no Mi lets me see inside anything in my room, Luffy explained. But seeing isn't the same as understanding. I couldn't help Nami even though I could see she was sick. That's because medicine takes years of study. Chopper said passionately. It's not just about knowing the body's parts, it's about understanding how they work together. Exactly. Luffy grinned. That's why I need you on my crew. I've got the operation power, but you've got the medical knowledge. Before Chopper could respond, their conversation was interrupted by an explosion outside. A man wearing a metal jaw and a massive fur coat led an attack on the castle, Wapol, the exiled king who had abandoned his people during the pirate attack. This castle is my home. Wapol declared. I've come to reclaim it and the weapons inside. Luffy stepped outside, surveying the king and his two ministers. You abandoned your people when they needed you. You don't deserve this castle. How dare you? Wapol's jaw extended unnaturally as he bit off a piece of the castle wall and chewed it. I ate the munch fruit. I can eat anything and become part of my body. To demonstrate, he swallowed a cannon and transformed his arm into a weapon. Munch cannon. Room. Luffy's sphere expanded just as Wapol fired. Tact. The cannonball froze mid-air, then dropped harmlessly to the snow. What? How did you? Wapol's metal jaw dropped. My turn. Luffy extended his room to encompass Wapol himself. With a gesture, he separated Wapol's absorbed weapons from his body, extracting them one by one and arranging them in a neat pile on the snow. My weapons. Wapol screeched. What have you done? Just a little disarmament surgery, Luffy grinned. You've got too much junk food in your system. Enraged, Wapol charged forward, his massive jaws open to devour Luffy whole. At the last moment, Luffy created a precise room. Shambles. He switched places with one of Wapol's ministers, causing the king to accidentally bite down on his own subordinate. While Wapol struggled with this predicament, Luffy delivered a powerful, non-devil fruit-enhanced punch that sent the false king flying off the mountain. Home run. Luffy cheered, watching Wapol disappear into the distance. Chopper stared in amazement. You defended the castle, for us? Of course. You're my friend. Luffy replied as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. After the battle, Dr. Kureha shared the story of her previous colleague, Dr. Hiralik, who had saved and raised Chopper despite the reindeer's monstrous appearance. Hiralik's dream had been to create a cherry blossom cure for all diseases, a dream that lived on in Chopper. When it came time to leave, Chopper hesitated, torn between staying with Kureha and pursuing adventure with Luffy. Go, Kureha finally said, kicking him toward the door. A doctor should see the world to learn all he can. Just remember what Hiralik taught you. With tears streaming down his furry face, Chopper transformed into his reindeer form and raced after the departing Straw Hats. As they descended the mountain, something miraculous happened. The snow turned pink, creating the illusion of cherry blossoms falling across the entire kingdom. Dr. Kureha's farewell gift, Chopper sobbed, watching the pink snow swirl. She used Hiralik's research to make his dream come true. Now 6 strong, the Straw Hat Pirates continued their journey to Alabasta, with a fully recovered Nami navigating and their new doctor ensuring everyone's health. Luffy took particular interest in Chopper's medical knowledge, frequently creating small rooms to show the reindeer how their bodies looked from the inside. With your knowledge and my power, Luffy enthused, we could revolutionize medicine someday. I just want to find a cure for all diseases, Chopper replied modestly. That was my father's dream. Why not both? Luffy grinned. Alabasta was in worse condition than Vivi had feared. 2 years of drought had pushed the kingdom to the brink of civil war, with rebel forces gathering to overthrow King Cobra, whom they falsely believed had used dance powder to steal rain from other regions. After reuniting with the super spot-billed duck squad, Vivi's personal transportation force of enormous, powerful ducks, they began tracking Crocodile's movements across the desert kingdom. In Nanohana, they encountered an unexpected problem, Luffy's brother, Portgas D. Ace, Fire Fist of the Whitebeard Pirates. Luffy. Ace greeted him with a grin, casually igniting a circle of flames to keep marine pursuers at bay. Heard you set out to sea. Nice power you've got there, Gramps must have been furious. Ace. Luffy tackled his brother in a hug. What are you doing in Alabasta? Tracking someone, Ace's expression darkened momentarily. A traitor named Blackbeard. But enough about that, introduce me to your crew. After brief introductions and learning about their mission to stop Crocodile, Ace offered to help. I've got business elsewhere, but I can get you started, he handed Luffy a scrap of paper. This will help us meet again someday. The brothers parted ways, Ace heading to continue his hunt while the Straw Hats journeyed deeper into the desert. Along the way, they encountered Scorpion, a bounty hunter pursuing Ace, and his sons. After a brief skirmish that ended peacefully, they continued toward Yuba, where the rebel army was reportedly gathering. The journey across the desert was brutal. Sand pirates, extreme heat, and water scarcity tested their limits. When they finally reached Yuba, they found a single old man named Toto desperately digging for water in the dried-up oasis. The rebels have moved to Katoria, Toto informed them, offering what little water he'd managed to extract. My son Koza leads them. Please, if you see him, tell him the king is innocent. That night, Luffy made a decision. We're going to beat up Crocodile. Just like that. Usopp squeaked. He's making everyone suffer, Luffy stated simply. We stop him, we stop the war. He's a warlord with a powerful Logia devil fruit, Vivi cautioned. He can turn into sand, making him almost impossible to hit. Luffy grinned. Almost. They headed for Rain Base, Crocodile's base of operations disguised as a luxury casino called Rain Dinners. Before infiltrating, Luffy asked Chopper about a medical theory. If someone's made of sand, what would happen if that sand got wet? Chopper considered this. It would clump together, becoming heavier and unable to disperse as easily. Perfect. Luffy had everyone carry water barrels as they entered the casino. Inside Rain Dinners, they quickly found themselves in a trap. The floor opened beneath them, dropping Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Smoker, a marine captain who had been pursuing them since Logue Town, into a seastone cage that nullified devil fruit powers. Crocodile himself appeared, a massive hook replacing his left hand, with his partner Miss All Sunday beside him. Straw Hat Luffy, Crocodile smirked. The Surgeon of Liberty himself. I've heard interesting rumors about your devil fruit. And I've heard you're turning this country into a desert to find some ancient weapon, Luffy replied, gripping the seastone bars. The material weakened him, preventing his room creation. Crocodile laughed, a dry, humorless sound. Pluton will be mine once I overthrow this kingdom. And I'll add your Ope Ope no Mi to my collection of treasures. My power isn't something you can collect, Luffy spat. We'll see. Crocodile opened a trapdoor beneath the cage, sending it plummeting toward an underwater chamber. Enjoy drowning, pirates. Water began filling the room rapidly. Smoker, a Logia user himself, was as helpless as the devil fruit users among the Straw Hats. We need to break this cage. Zoro strained against the bars. It's sea stone, Smoker growled. Nothing breaks it. The lock, Nami suggested desperately. If we could pick it. Unexpected salvation came from Miss All Sunday, who appeared briefly to toss them the key before vanishing again. Once free, they raced to escape the flooding chamber, with Zoro carrying the weakened devil fruit users. Above ground, they learned that Crocodile had kidnapped Vivi and was heading to the royal tomb outside Alyabarna, the capital city. They split up, Chopper and Sanji going to find the others, while Luffy pursued Crocodile directly. The confrontation at the tomb revealed Crocodile's true plan, to obtain the ancient weapon Pluton through the poneglyph hidden in the royal crypt. When his partner Miss All Sunday, revealing her real name as Nico Robin, told him the poneglyph didn't contain the weapon's location, he attempted to kill her alongside Vivi. Luffy arrived just in time, his clothing soaked with water from their containers. Let them go, Sandman, he shouted, drawing Crocodile's attention. Back from the dead. Crocodile seemed mildly impressed. You're persistent, I'll give you that. I'm just getting started. Luffy charged, his wet fists aimed at Crocodile's face. The warlord dispersed into sand, reforming behind Luffy. Pathetic. You can't touch. His taunt was cut short as Luffy's water-soaked body connected with his partially reformed sand arm, solidifying it momentarily. What? Crocodile stared at his arm in shock. Water beats sand, Luffy grinned. Room. The blue sphere expanded, encompassing them both. Before Crocodile could react, Luffy made a twisting gesture. Tact. The water molecules from Luffy's soaked clothing separated and redistributed, surrounding Crocodile's sandy form like a net. Where the water touched, Crocodile's body couldn't disperse. What are you doing to me? The warlord demanded, parts of him solidifying while others remained sand. Just a little molecular reorganization, Luffy replied, advancing. You can't turn to sand if you're too wet to disperse. For the first time, alarm registered on Crocodile's face. He tried to attack with his poison hook, but Luffy created another room. Shambles. The hook separated from Crocodile's arm, floating harmlessly to the side. First rule of surgery, Luffy quipped. Always sterilize your equipment. Crocodile roared in frustration, summoning a massive sandstorm despite his partially solidified state. I'll bury this entire kingdom. No you won't. Luffy's expression hardened. Room. His sphere expanded to its largest yet, encompassing the growing sandstorm. With intense concentration and sweat beading on his forehead, Luffy separated the sand particles from the air, compressing them into a dense ball that dropped harmlessly to the ground. The effort visibly drained him, but Luffy pressed his advantage. While Crocodile was stunned by the neutralization of his most powerful attack, Luffy charged, his water-soaked fist connecting with the warlord's jaw in a devastating blow. The battle continued across the desert, each trying to outmaneuver the other. Crocodile dehydrated Luffy's arm at one point, nearly killing him, but Luffy persevered, using water from a final container to revitalize himself. For the finishing blow, Luffy created a room around his fist, filling it with compressed water molecules. Aqua injection. He slammed his water-infused fist into Crocodile's chest, the impact creating an explosion of moisture that completely solidified the warlord's body. With Crocodile neutralized, the false rain powder factory was discovered, the rebel army stood down, and King Cobra was exonerated. The drought would continue naturally, but without Crocodile's manipulation, Alabasta could begin healing. During the celebration, Luffy collapsed from his injuries, spending 3 days unconscious while Chopper treated him. When he awoke, he found a surprise. Nico Robin had joined their crew, intrigued by Luffy's ability to defy the seemingly impossible. You defeated a Logia user through creative problem-solving, she observed. Most would have relied on armament haki, which you don't yet possess. Haki? Luffy tilted his head. A discussion for another time, Robin smiled mysteriously. For now, I believe you promised your little doctor to revolutionize medicine. Their departure from Alabasta was bittersweet. Vivi chose to remain with her kingdom despite their invitation to continue as a pirate. As they sailed away, they raised their arms in a silent farewell, showing the X marks they'd drawn on their wrists as a symbol of eternal friendship. The Marines, however, had taken notice of Luffy's defeat of Crocodile. His bounty jumped to 100 million berries, while Zoro received his first bounty of 60 million. The world government deliberately covered up Crocodile's crimes, maintaining the facade of the warlord system. More concerning was the addendum to Luffy's bounty poster, possessor of the Ope Ope no Mi capture alive if possible. "They're specifically noting your devil fruit now," Robin observed grimly. "That's rare and concerning." "Let them come," Luffy replied, unconcerned. "I'm not afraid of the government." Their journey continued to Jaya, a lawless pirate town where they sought information about reaching Sky Island, a legendary place Robin had become interested in due to Poneglyph connections. In Mock Town, they encountered Bellamy the hyena, a pirate who subscribed to the New Era philosophy that dreams like the Sky Island were foolish fantasies. When Bellamy attacked them, Luffy refused to fight back, adhering to a promise he'd made to Nami about avoiding trouble. Their restraint earned them the respect of a powerful pirate named Blackbeard, though they didn't know his significance at the time. Following information from Mont Blanc Cricket, a descendant of a liar who claimed to have visited the Sky Island, they reinforced the Mary and used the knock-up stream to launch their ship into the sky. Sky Island proved very real, consisting of various cloud-based islands in the upper atmosphere. The native Scythians lived in fear of the self-proclaimed god Enel, who ruled through terror with his rumble fruit, a logia that granted him lightning powers, and mantra, their word for observation hockey. When Luffy's crew was separated and hunted during Enel's survival game, they discovered the Sky Island's history, a 400-year war between the Scythians and the original inhabitants, the Shandorians, over sacred land containing a poneglyph. Enel's ultimate goal was to destroy Skypiea and take the Golden Bell of Shandora for himself before departing to the moon in his ark. When Luffy finally confronted him, Enel was dismissive. "You cannot touch me. I am lightning itself," he declared, his earlobes elongated with attached drums. "And my mantra allows me to predict your every move." Room. Luffy's blue sphere expanded, encompassing them both. "Let's test something." Enel launched a lightning bolt directly at Luffy's heart. 20 million volt Vari. Tact. Instead of dodging, Luffy separated the electrical energy from its path, redirecting it around his body and back toward Enel. "What?" Enel's eyes widened beneath his bandana. "You redirected my lightning?" "Your electricity," Luffy grinned. "I just changed its flow." For the first time, Enel faced someone his power couldn't easily destroy. Furious, he intensified his attacks, creating a massive thunder cloud above them. Thor. A massive lightning strike descended. Luffy expanded his room further, face contorted with effort as he redirected the enormous electrical discharge. This time, he couldn't send it all back, and some struck him, causing him to cry out in pain. Enel laughed. "You can redirect small attacks, but my full power overwhelms you." "Maybe directly," Luffy admitted, panting. "But let's try something else." Creating another room, Luffy focused on Enel himself. Scan. He examined Enel's lightning-transformed body, noting how the electricity flowed and maintained its human shape. With precise movements, Luffy disrupted that flow. Counter-shock. Luffy sent a controlled electrical discharge of his own, not attacking Enel directly, but interfering with the pattern of his electrical body. The god flickered like a faulty light, parts of him briefly solidifying as his control wavered. "What did you do to me?" Enel demanded, his form stabilizing with visible effort. "Just a little electromagnetic intervention," Luffy replied. "Your body is just flowing electrons. I disrupted the pattern." Enraged, Enel transformed his staff into a trident and attacked physically, no longer trusting his lightning against Luffy's interference. The battle became a physical contest, with Enel's predictive mantra giving him an advantage in dodging. Luffy adapted by creating multiple small rooms and randomizing his own movements through shambles, making his attacks unpredictable even to Enel's mantra. "Your mantra shows you what I'm going to do," Luffy explained as he landed a solid hit on the increasingly frustrated god. "But even you can't predict where I'll be when I teleport." The decisive moment came when Enel created his most powerful attack, Rego, a massive electrical ball capable of destroying the entire Sky Island. As he hurled it downward, Luffy created his largest room yet. "I won't let you destroy their home," he shouted, straining against the massive electrical force. TKT. With tremendous effort, Luffy separated the Rego into its component parts, dispersing the electrical energy harmlessly across the sky in a spectacular display of lightning. The effort left him gasping, nearly depleted of stamina, but still standing. While Enel was stunned by the neutralization of his ultimate attack, Luffy closed the distance, coating his fist with a focused rune that disrupted Enel's electrical transformation. Electro Disruptor. He slammed his fist into Enel's face, the impact combined with the electromagnetic disruption finally rendering the self-proclaimed god unconscious. The aftermath brought reconciliation between Scythians and Shandorians, the discovery of the Golden City of Shandora, and the ringing of the golden bell to announce to Cricket below that Sky Island was real. The Straw Hats departed with their ship loaded with gold, sailing back down to the blue sea on a balloon octopus. "Your devil fruit grows more versatile with each battle," Robin observed during their descent. "The applications seem limited only by your imagination." Luffy grinned. "And my stamina. Those big rooms really take it out of me." "Perhaps that's something we should work on," she suggested. "Your power could be truly revolutionary with proper training." Water 7, the City of Water, brought both opportunity and crisis. With their Skypiea gold, they could finally afford to repair the increasingly damaged Going Merry, which had suffered greatly during their sky adventure. Upon arrival, they encountered the Galila Company, the best shipwrights in the world, and their eccentric foreman, Frankie, who operated as the leader of the local Frankie family dismantling group. When several Galila foremen examined the Merry, the news was devastating. "She can't be fixed," Iceberg, the company president, declared solemnly. "The keel is cracked, the ship's backbone. No repair can save her now." "But Merry is our friend," Luffy protested. "There must be something." "I'm sorry," Iceberg shook his head. "You need a new ship." The crew fell into disagreement, Luffy reluctantly accepting the reality while Usopp refused, seeing abandonment of the Merry as abandonment of a gift from Kaya. Their argument escalated into a duel, with Usopp temporarily leaving the crew after his defeat. Adding to their troubles, Robin disappeared, seemingly joining the government organization CP9, and their money was stolen by Frankie's family. When Luffy confronted Frankie to recover their money, he discovered the man was a cyborg, part human, part machine, who had used their gold to buy rare atom wood for a secret project. "You stole our money to build a ship?" Luffy demanded. "Not just any ship," Frankie replied, striking his signature pose. "A super ship worthy of sailing to the end of the Grand Line." Their confrontation was interrupted by the revelation that CP9 had infiltrated Water 7 for years, with several Galila foremen being undercover agents. Their target was the ancient weapon blueprint supposedly held by Iceberg and Frankie. Robin, it turned out, had joined them only to protect the Straw Hats. CP9 had threatened to use a buster call, a devastating marine attack, on the crew if she didn't comply with their demand to come with them to Enies lobby. "We have to save Robin," Luffy declared after learning the truth. "She's our friend." Forming an alliance with Frankie, Galila, and the reconciled Usopp, disguised as his alter ego, Sogeking, they pursued CP9 to Enies lobby, the judicial island of the world government. The assault on Enies lobby showcased Luffy's growing mastery of the Ope Ope no Mi. Against the six powers techniques of the CP9 agents, Luffy demonstrated increasingly creative applications. When Blueno attempted to trap him between dimensions with his Dordor fruit, Luffy created a room that bridged the dimensional gap. "Doors go both ways," Luffy grinned, stepping through his own created passage to surprise the agent. Against Jabra's iron body technique, Luffy used precise tact operations to manipulate the agent's muscle tension, nullifying the hardening effect. Your iron body relies on muscle contraction, Luffy explained as his attack suddenly penetrated Jabra's defense. I just relaxed them for you. The most difficult opponent was Rob Lucci, the strongest CP9 agent who could transform into a leopard-human hybrid. His mastery of the six powers made him incredibly dangerous, and his speed often exceeded Luffy's ability to create and maintain rooms. During their battle atop the Tower of Justice, with Robin freed but the Buster Call approaching, Lucci pushed Luffy to his limits. Finger Pistol. Lucci's hardened finger pierced Luffy's shoulder before he could create a defensive room. Bleeding and exhausted, Luffy knew he needed something new. Drawing on his observations of CP9's techniques, he created a room around himself. Let's try this, he muttered. Tact. Instead of manipulating external objects, Luffy focused inward, temporarily altering his own muscle structure to mimic aspects of the six powers. His next punch carried significantly more force, surprising Lucci. What did you do? The leopard man demanded, wiping blood from his mouth. Just a little self-improvement, Luffy grinned through his pain. You're not the only one who can modify your body. The battle reached its climax as the Buster Call warship surrounded Enies lobby. With his crew shouting encouragement from below, Luffy created his most focused room yet, encompassing just himself and Lucci. Counter Shock Maximum. The electrical energy surged through Lucci's body, temporarily paralyzing him. In that moment of vulnerability, Luffy delivered a devastating barrage of punches, each amplified by his internal muscle modifications. This is for Robin, he shouted as Lucci finally fell, unconscious. Their escape from the burning Judicial Island was made possible by the unexpected appearance of the Going Merry, which had somehow sailed on its own to rescue them. Though damaged beyond repair, the loyal ship carried them to safety one final time before finally breaking apart. The crew gave Merry a Viking funeral, watching with tears as their first ship burned on the water. As the flames consumed the broken vessel, Luffy and the others heard a small voice, "Thank you for loving me." Back in Water 7, while recovering from their ordeal, they learned their actions at Enies lobby had escalated their threat level in the world government's eyes. New bounty posters arrived, Luffy's now at 300 million berries, with the entire crew receiving bounties for the first time. They're really serious about capturing you now, Frankie observed, examining Luffy's poster. The addendum about the Ope Ope no Mi is bigger too. Indeed, Luffy's poster now prominently stated, priority target, possessor of the Ope Ope no Mi extreme caution advised. Capture alive. Let them try, Luffy replied, unconcerned. We're too busy having adventures to worry about the government. Frankie officially joined the crew as their shipwright, revealing his project, the Thousand Sunny, a magnificent ship built from the atom wood purchased with their stolen gold. With a sad farewell to Water 7 and Iceberg, they set sail on their new vessel. Their journey continued to Thriller Bark, a massive ship island in the Florian Triangle shrouded in perpetual fog. There they encountered Brook, a skeleton with an afro who explained he had died but returned to his body thanks to the Revive fruit, only to find his body had decomposed to bones. "May I see your panties?" was his introduction to Nami, earning him a swift kick. Despite his odd behavior, Brook's story touched them. He had lost his shadow to Gecko Moria, one of the 7 warlords, and could not enter sunlight without disintegrating. He had spent 50 years alone in the foggy sea, keeping a promise to return to Reverse Mountain where his former crew, the Rumbar Pirates, had left their dying crewmate Laboon. "You know Laboon?" Luffy exclaimed. "The whale at the Twin Capes? He's still waiting for you." Brook's skeletal jaw dropped. "Laboon is alive. After 50 years. Very much alive," Luffy confirmed. "We promised him we'd return too. You should come with us." "I cannot," Brook replied sadly. "Without my shadow, I can never leave this foggy sea." "Then we'll get your shadow back." Luffy decided instantly. Thriller Bark proved to be a nightmare island filled with zombies created by Moria's shadow fruit. The warlord had stolen shadows from hundreds of pirates, including Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, implanting them into corpses to create his undead army. When Luffy confronted Moria, the warlord was dismissive. "Your shadow now powers my special zombie, Oars. A legendary giant that will help me become Pirate King." The zombie Oars, containing Luffy's shadow, possessed his personality and dream but served Moria. This created a unique problem, fighting essentially against himself. After several failed attempts to defeat the massive zombie through conventional means, Luffy tried a different approach. Creating a room that encompassed part of Oars, he attempted to separate the implanted shadow from the corpse. Tact. To his surprise, he could perceive the shadow as a distinct entity within his room, but couldn't separate it. "The shadow is bound by Moria's power," Brook explained after the failed attempt. "Only purifying the zombie or forcing Moria to release it will work." Changing tactics, Luffy targeted Moria himself, who had hidden inside Oar's stomach to control the giant zombie directly. Creating a room that penetrated into Oar's body, Luffy located Moria. Shambles. He switched the warlord's position with a rock outside, leaving Moria suddenly exposed and vulnerable. "How did you?" Moria sputtered in shock. "X-ray vision, basically," Luffy grinned. "You can't hide from me." Separated from Oars, Moria was forced to fight directly, using his shadow manipulation powers. He attempted to steal Luffy's shadow again, but this time Luffy was prepared. Room. He created a sphere around himself as Moria's shadow hand reached for his. Counter shock. The electrical discharge disrupted the shadow's form temporarily, giving Luffy the opportunity to attack Moria directly. The warlord, unused to direct combat, found himself overwhelmed by Luffy's assault. In desperation, Moria absorbed all the shadows from his zombies, growing to massive size and power but becoming unstable. Luffy, working with his reunited crew, created a strategy to force the shadows out. Creating his largest room yet, Luffy encompassed the shadow-bloated Moria. "Everyone, hit him with everything you've got. Make him lose control." The combined assault of the Straw Hats pushed Moria beyond his limit. As dawn approached, threatening to disintegrate Brook and the other shadowless victims, Moria began leaking shadows uncontrollably. Luffy delivered the final blow, a concentrated counter-shock directly to Moria's shadow-stuffed chest. The electrical disruption caused a chain reaction, and hundreds of shadows erupted from the warlord's body, returning to their original owners just as the sun rose over Thriller Bark. With his shadow restored, Brook officially accepted Luffy's invitation to join the crew, becoming their musician. The celebration was short-lived, however, as a new threat arrived: Bartholomew Kuma, another warlord sent by the world government to assess the situation. Kuma's mission had changed with reports of Moria's defeat. Now he was ordered to eliminate all witnesses. His pawpaw fruit allowed him to repel anything he touched, including abstract concepts like pain and fatigue. "If I were to take a vacation," he asked the exhausted crew, "where would you recommend?" The non-sequitur confused them until Kuma demonstrated his power by sending a person flying across the world with a simple touch. He then revealed his primary target. "The world government considers the Ope Ope no Mi user the highest priority," Kuma stated in his mechanical way. "Monkey D, Luffy, you will come with me." "Not happening," Luffy replied, though he could barely stand after the battle with Moria. "Very well." Kuma removed his glove. "Then I shall take you by force." What followed was less a battle than a demonstration of power. The exhausted Straw Hats could barely touch Kuma, whose ability to repel their attacks made him virtually untouchable. When he created a massive air pressure bomb that devastated the area, it seemed the fight was over before it began. Kuma approached the fallen Luffy. "The Ope Ope no Mi will be recovered for the world government." Room. Despite his exhaustion, Luffy created a sphere between them. "You can't touch me if I move first." Kuma simply waited, watching the blue sphere flicker and fade as Luffy's stamina gave out. Your power requires energy you no longer have. As he reached for Luffy, Zoro intervened, offering a deal. Take my head instead. I'm worth 120 million berries. That is not my mission, Kuma replied. But your loyalty is admirable. After a moment's consideration, Kuma proposed an alternative. I will spare your captain if you take his pain and fatigue upon yourself. The accumulated damage from his battle with Moria would likely kill you. Without hesitation, Zoro agreed. Kuma extracted a red bubble of pain and suffering from Luffy's body, a visible manifestation of the damage he had endured. When Zoro stepped into it, absorbing all the pain, the swordsman's stoic silence despite the overwhelming agony demonstrated his absolute loyalty. When Luffy awoke, he found his body mysteriously healed while Zoro was covered in blood but still alive. The swordsman refused to explain, simply stating they needed to prepare for the new world, the second half of the Grand Line. As the Straw Hats repaired the Sunny and gathered supplies from Thriller Bark, a new arrival caught them by surprise, a man in a spotted hat who introduced himself as Trafalgar Law, captain of the Heart Pirates. So you're the one with the Ope Ope no Mi, Law observed, studying Luffy with intense eyes. Interesting. And you are? Luffy asked, sensing something familiar about the newcomer. Just another rookie, Law replied with a smirk. He stretched his arm, and to everyone's shock, it extended like rubber, grabbing an apple from several yards away. The Gomu Gomu no Mi, Luffy recognized immediately. You're a rubber man. And you're a surgeon, Law countered. Seems fate has an interesting sense of humor, Straw Hatya. The tension between them was palpable, two captains who seemed to possess each other's predestined devil fruits. Law's crew waited nervously on his submarine, the Polar Tang, clearly ready for potential conflict. My crew and I were just passing through, Law explained, biting into the apple. But when I heard that the Surgeon of Liberty was here, I had to see for myself. Looking for a fight? Zoro's hand moved to his swords, despite his injuries. Not today. Law's gaze remained fixed on Luffy. Just sizing up the competition. Competition for what? Luffy asked. The One Piece, of course, Law replied. Though I'm more interested in how you're using the Ope Ope no Mi. It has significant potential beyond what you've demonstrated. Something in Law's tone caught Luffy's attention. You know about this fruit? More than most, Law admitted. I've studied it extensively. It was supposed to be mine, once. Before Luffy could question him further, a massive marine battleship appeared on the horizon, emerging from the fog. Standing on the deck was a familiar figure in white, Surgeon General Kuratsuki. Straw Hat, his voice carried across the water. It seems our paths cross again after all these years. Friend of yours? Law asked, tensing visibly at the marine's appearance. Not exactly, Luffy replied, moving to the Sunny's railing. He tried to capture me when I first ate the devil fruit. The Surgeon of Liberty and the Surgeon of Death in one place, Kuratsuki called. How convenient. Surgeon of Death. Luffy glanced at Law. A nickname, Law shrugged. Not my choice. Kuratsuki's battleship drew closer. Monkey D. Luffy. The world government has authorized extreme measures for your capture. The Ope Ope no Mi must be secured. What's so special about this fruit anyway? Luffy shouted back. Why does everyone want it so badly? You truly don't know. Kuratsuki seemed surprised. The ultimate technique of the Ope Ope no Mi, the perennial youth operation. The power to grant immortality at the cost of the user's life. Immortality? The Straw Hats gasped collectively. That's why the government wants you, Kuratsuki continued. To perform the operation on the 5 elders or perhaps a celestial dragon. The ultimate sacrifice for their eternal rule. Law stepped forward. The perennial youth operation is just a legend. No Ope Ope no Mi user has ever performed it. Because they either didn't know how or refused, Kuratsuki countered. But the technique exists. And Straw Hat will either surrender it willingly or will extract the knowledge forcibly. Marine soldiers lined the battleship rails, weapons ready. Kuratsuki himself removed his white gloves, revealing hands that glowed with an eerie green light. I ate the Kiru Kiru no Mi, the cut fruit, he announced. I can slice anything without damaging it. Perfect for bloodless surgery, or extraction of devil fruits from unwilling hosts. You can remove devil fruits. Luffy's eyes widened. Not alone, Kuratsuki admitted. But with the proper equipment at Marine headquarters, yes. We've done it before. The Marine raised his glowing hand. Surrender now, Straw Hat, and your crew will be spared. Luffy's response was predictable, room. His blue sphere expanded across the water toward the Marine vessel. Simultaneously, Law stretched his rubber arm, grabbing Luffy's shoulder. Wait, Law cautioned. Kuratsuki is an expert on devil fruit extraction. He's not bluffing. I don't care, Luffy replied. No one threatens my crew. Then let's make this interesting. Law created his own gesture, and to everyone's shock, a blue sphere similar to Luffy's room expanded from his hand, overlapping with Luffy's. Room. What the? Luffy stared at the dual spheres. How can you? I studied the Ope Ope no Mi for years, Law explained quickly. I can't use it, but I developed a technique with the Gomu Gomu no Mi that mimics some of its properties. Limited, but effective. Their overlapping rooms created an unusual resonance, the blue light pulsing where they intersected. Kuratsuki's expression changed from confidence to concern. Impossible, the Marine surgeon gasped. A devil fruit resonance. Shambles, both captains called simultaneously. The combined power of their overlapping abilities created an unexpected effect. Instead of a simple position switch, the entire battleship was suddenly transported a mile away, while the Sunny and the Polar Tang were moved in the opposite direction. What just happened? Usopp gaped at the distant Marine vessel. Devil fruit resonance, Law explained, looking equally surprised by the magnitude of the effect. When compatible fruits interact, they can amplify each other. That was awesome. Luffy exclaimed. We should team up more often. This was a one-time cooperation, Law stated firmly, though a hint of intrigue showed in his eyes. But interesting nonetheless. As the Marine battleship began turning to pursue them, Law returned to his submarine. We should all leave before they return. Kuratsuki isn't someone to underestimate. Wait. Luffy called. What did you mean? The Ope Ope no Mi was supposed to be yours. Law paused at the Polar Tang's hatch. Let's just say we both ended up with fruits meant for someone else. Perhaps fate has a plan after all, Straw Hatya. Will I see you again? Luffy asked. In the New World, Law confirmed. We're both heading there, after all. Next time, though, we might not be on the same side. As the Polar Tang submerged and 1,000 Sunny set sail, escaping the pursuing Marines, Luffy couldn't help but feel that his encounter with Trafalgar Law was the beginning of something significant. What do you make of him? Zoro asked once they were safely away. He's strong, Luffy replied thoughtfully. And he knows more about my devil fruit than I do. An ally or enemy? Robin wondered. Luffy grinned. Maybe both. But definitely interesting. Their course was set for Sabaody Archipelago, the final stop before the New World. With each adventure, Luffy's mastery of the Ope Ope no Mi continued to grow, as did his reputation as the Surgeon of Liberty. But the shadows of those who coveted his power, the world government, Kuratsuki, and perhaps others yet unrevealed, grew longer with each passing day. The immortality operation, Chopper mused during a quiet moment on deck. Would you ever use it, Luffy? Never, he replied without hesitation. My life is my own. I won't give it up for someone else's immortality. What about for one of us? Nami asked quietly. Luffy's expression softened. You guys wouldn't want that. A real pirate faces death with a smile, right? Besides, living forever sounds boring. Boring? Usopp exclaimed. You'd have endless adventures. But they wouldn't mean as much, Luffy replied with surprising wisdom. Adventures are special because they don't last forever. As the thousand Sunnies sailed toward their next destination, the significance of Luffy's devil fruit hung over them like a cloud. What had once seemed like a simple, if unusual, power now carried the weight of the world government's desperate interest and the mystery of the ultimate operation. For Luffy, however, the path remained clear, onward to the next adventure, the next battle, the next friend or foe. The Surgeon of Liberty would continue cutting his way toward the ultimate prize, the One Piece and the title of Pirate King. Chapter 3, The Immortal Pirate King. Sabaody Archipelago rose from the horizon, massive mangrove trees with bubble-secreting bark creating a surreal landscape. The Thousand Sunny docked at Grove 41, the crew marveling at the soap-like bubbles floating lazily upward from the strange trees. Remember, this isn't an island, Nami cautioned as they disembarked. It's just a massive mangrove forest growing on the ocean floor. Under these roots is nothing but sea. And the red line, Robin added. The midpoint of the Grand Line and the only way to reach the New World. Luffy bounced excitedly on the springy ground. I can't wait to see what kind of meat they have here. We need to find someone to coat the Sunny first, Frankie reminded them. Rayleigh the coater should be around here somewhere. And we should avoid the central areas, Nami warned. Groves 1 through 29 are where the world nobles and marines are concentrated. With your bounty, Luffy, it's too dangerous. Luffy, predictably, wasn't listening. He'd already spotted a nearby food stand. Meat. They split into groups to handle different tasks, Nami, Robin, and Frankie to find Rayleigh, Sanji and Chopper for supplies, Zoro, Brook, and Usopp to explore, while Luffy wandered off on his own despite warnings. What seemed like a normal supply run quickly spiraled into chaos when Luffy, inevitably, found himself in Grove 1, the heart of the lawless zone. There, he witnessed a celestial dragon, St. Charlos, shooting people who wouldn't bow and attempting to purchase a mermaid at the human auctioning house. Inside the auction house, the Straw Hats reunited to discover other powerful rookie pirates in attendance, Eustace Kid, Killer, Trafalgar Law, and others with bounties over 100 million. They watched in disgust as humans, giants, and other races were sold as slaves. When Hat-chan, the octopus fish man they'd battled at Arlong Park but who had since reformed, was revealed and shot by St. Charlos for being a filthy fish man, something inside Luffy snapped. Room. The blue sphere expanded instantly, encompassing the celestial dragon. Before anyone could react, Luffy marched down the aisle, past gawking nobles and pirates. Straw Hat, don't. Hat-chan gasped through his pain. If you attack a world noble, an admiral will come. Luffy ignored him, advancing on the terrified Charlos. With a casual gesture, he separated the noble's bubble helmet, ornate pistol, and gaudy jewelry, leaving them floating in the air. You can't touch me. Charlos squealed, his nasal voice grating. I'm a descendant of the creators of this world. How dare a filthy pirate? Luffy's fist connected with his jaw, silencing him mid-sentence. The celestial dragon crumpled, blood and broken teeth spilling onto his immaculate white suit. Dead silence filled the auction house. Then chaos erupted, civilians fled screaming while Marines stationed outside mobilized immediately. Are you insane? Kid demanded, though his grin suggested admiration. You just punched a world noble. He deserved it, Luffy replied simply, kneeling beside Hat-chan. Chopper, can you help him? As their doctor rushed to treat the fish man, the other captains prepared for the inevitable Marine response. An interesting move, Straw Hatya, Law commented, his tattooed fingers adjusting his spotted hat. Deliberately provoking the Navy. Outside, Marines surrounded the building. Inside, The three rookie captains stood side by side, an unlikely alliance forming in the face of common enemies. "I'll handle the outside forces," Kid declared, metallic objects already orbiting his left arm. "I'll clear our escape route," Law offered, stretching his rubber limbs in preparation. "I'll free the slaves," Luffy decided, expanding his room to encompass the stage where the merchandise was held. With precise movements, Luffy separated the explosive collars from around the slaves' necks, suspending them harmlessly in the air. "Everyone run. You're free now." As the freed slaves escaped through the back, the pirates engaged the marines outside. What might have been a challenging battle became a showcase of rookie power, Kid's magnetic manipulation, Law's rubber attacks combined with swordsmanship, and Luffy's increasingly precise room operations clearing paths through the marine ranks. "We're leaving," Luffy called to his crew. "Head back to the ship." Too late for that, Robin pointed toward the horizon, where a massive figure approached through a distortion in the air. "Admiral Kizaru has arrived." Light gathered at the Admiral's fingertip as he prepared a laser attack. "Oh my, what troublesome rookies." Before Kizaru could fire, an elderly man appeared between him and the pirates, Silver's Rayleigh, the Dark King, Roger's former first mate. "It's been a while, Kizaru," Rayleigh greeted casually. "Rayleigh." Kizaru's eyebrows rose above his yellow-tinted glasses. "This complicates matters." What followed was a brief but intense standoff between legends. While Rayleigh kept Kizaru occupied, the pirates scattered. As the Straw Hats fled, Luffy noticed Rayleigh watching him with particular interest. "He's the one we're looking for to code our ship," Frankie reminded them. "We need to arrange a meeting point." Their escape was interrupted by the arrival of Sentomaru, Kizaru's subordinate, and several pacifistas, humanoid weapons modeled after Bartholomew Kuma. These cyborgs fired laser beams from their mouths and could withstand tremendous damage. "Room." Luffy created a sphere around one pacifista. "Scan." Within his room, Luffy examined the pacifista's internal structure, discovering the complex machinery beneath its human-like exterior. "It's a cyborg, like Frankie," he called to his crew. "But way more complex." "Target acquired, Monkey D. Luffy, 300 million berries," the pacifista droned. "Priority capture, Ope Ope no Mi user." Luffy narrowed his eyes. "They're specifically targeting me for my devil fruit again." "Obviously." Nami shouted, dodging a laser blast. "That's why we should be running, not analyzing their tech." Surrounded by three pacifistas and with Sentomaru closing in, the situation looked grim. Then an unexpected voice called from nearby. "Still making a spectacle, Straw Hat." Surgeon General Kuratsuki approached, his white marine coat flapping in the wind. "After all these years, the world government's patience has run out. Today, the Ope Ope no Mi returns to its rightful owners." "You again." Luffy faced him. "Still obsessed with my devil fruit?" "It was never meant for a pirate," Kuratsuki replied coldly. His hands glowed with the green energy of his cut fruit. "Especially not one who refuses to use its ultimate potential." "You mean killing myself to make someone immortal?" Luffy scoffed. "Never gonna happen." "Then we'll take it by force." Kuratsuki signaled, and the pacifistas converged from all sides. In the chaos that followed, Luffy realized they couldn't win, not against an admiral, multiple pacifistas, and a marine force specifically equipped to neutralize his powers. When the real Bartholomew Kuma appeared alongside the copies, their fate was sealed. "Everyone!" Luffy shouted desperately. "Run in different directions. We'll meet back at the ship in 3 days." Before anyone could react, Kuma approached Zoro, touching him with his paw-pad hand. The swordsman vanished instantly. "Zoro!" Luffy cried in shock. One by one, Kuma sent the Straw Hats flying to different parts of the world: Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brook, each disappearing before Luffy's eyes. "What are you doing to my friends?" Luffy demanded, tears streaming down his face. Saving them, Kuma replied cryptically, advancing on Luffy. Kuratsuki rushed forward. Wait! The Ope Ope no Mi user is mine. Room! In desperation, Luffy created his largest sphere yet, encompassing all three pacifistas, Kuratsuki, and Kuma. Shambles! He attempted to teleport himself away, but Kuma moved faster. The warlord's paw connected with Luffy's chest, and the last thing he saw was Kuratsuki's face contorted with rage as he, too, vanished into the sky. Luffy crashed onto a lush, tropical island after 3 days of flight. His body ached, his heart heavy with the loss of his crew. As he regained consciousness, he found himself surrounded by gigantic mushrooms and unfamiliar jungle. "Where am I?" he groaned, sitting up. A rustle in the underbrush alerted him to someone's presence. Creating a small room, Luffy prepared for confrontation. Instead, a woman emerged, tall, muscular, with a snake bow and arrow aimed at his head. "A man?" she gasped, clearly surprised. "How did you get to Amazon Lily?" "Amazon what?" Luffy asked. "I was sent flying by a guy with paws for hands." More warrior women surrounded him, all equally shocked by his presence. They escorted him, at arrow point, to their village, where he learned he had landed on Amazon Lily, the island of women, where men were strictly forbidden. The Empress Boa Hancock, one of the 7 warlords, sentenced him to death in the arena for the crime of being male and seeing her back, which apparently bore a secret mark she desperately wanted to keep hidden. In the fighting pit, Luffy faced Hancock's sisters, Marigold and Sandersonia, both wielding mysterious powers called Haki. When Sandersonia's snake body was about to be exposed to the crowd, revealing the same mark Hancock feared showing, Luffy made a split-second decision. Room! His sphere encompassed the arena. Instead of fighting back, he created a dome of separated stone fragments to hide Sandersonia's body from the crowd. "Why would you protect her secret?" Hancock demanded later in the palace. "You're our enemy." "Because it's not my secret to reveal," Luffy replied simply. His response shook Hancock to her core. She revealed her past. She and her sisters had been slaves to the celestial dragons, bearing the hoof of the flying dragon mark on their backs as proof. Luffy's account of punching St. Charlos further endeared him to her. "You're the man who attacked the world nobles." Hancock's demeanor completely changed. "For a fishman?" "Hatchan is my friend," Luffy stated. "I don't care if he has 8 arms or 2. Nobody hurts my friends." By the time he finished explaining his separation from his crew, Hancock had fallen hopelessly in love with him, a fact that confused Luffy but proved advantageous when news arrived about his brother Ace's public execution. "Ace is going to be executed?" Luffy's face drained of color as he read the newspaper. "For being the son of Gold Roger. The Marines are making a statement," Hancock explained. "The execution will take place at Marine headquarters in a week. I have to save him," Luffy declared. "But my crew is scattered, and I don't even know where Marine HQ is." "It's across the Calm Belt," Hancock told him. "But first, Ace is being held at Impel Down, the underwater prison. That's where you need to go." Despite the tremendous risk, Hancock agreed to smuggle Luffy into Impel Down by hiding him beneath her robes on a marine vessel. As a warlord, she had permission to visit the prison, though her true motivation, love for Luffy, remained her secret. Before departing, Luffy spent 2 days recovering and learning about Haki from Hancock's grandmother, Nyan. "Haki is the power of will," Nyan explained. "Observation Haki senses opponents' movements. Armament Haki creates invisible armor and hits Logia users. Conqueror's Haki, which you've shown signs of, overwhelms others' wills. Can it work with my devil fruit?" Luffy asked, creating a small room. "Potentially," Nyan nodded. "Haki amplifies all abilities. Your room could become stronger, more precise, or cover greater distances with proper Haki application." Though there wasn't time for full training, Luffy began to understand the basics, particularly how observation haki might enhance his spatial awareness within his room. Impel Down loomed before them, a massive prison rising from and descending into the sea. Hancock successfully smuggled Luffy past the initial security, but they soon faced an unexpected obstacle, a thorough body search conducted by Vice Warden Hannibal. Even warlords must be checked, Hannibal insisted. Those are Warden Magellan's orders. Room, Luffy whispered from his hiding place. With precise control, he created a tiny room that encompassed just his body, then used shambles to swap positions with a barrel of supplies being delivered to a lower level, allowing Hancock to proceed without suspicion. Once separated from his ally, Luffy faced the daunting task of navigating the 6 levels of hell that comprised Impel Down. Each level was more brutal than the last, housing increasingly dangerous criminals. Using his room to avoid guards when possible and fighting when necessary, Luffy descended through the blazing heat of level 3 and the freezing cold of level 4. Along the way, he encountered unexpected allies, Mr. 3 from Baroque Works and Buggy the Clown, both escaping after the chaos of Blackbeard's attack on the prison. Straw Hat! Buggy exclaimed upon seeing him. What madness brings you to this hell? My brother, Luffy explained tersely. Ace is being held on level 6. I'm breaking him out. Level 6 doesn't exist. Buggy protested. It's just a rumor. It's real, Mr. 3 corrected. But no one ever escapes from there. It houses the worst criminals in history. I'm not leaving without Ace, Luffy stated firmly. You can help or get out of my way. Reluctantly, the unlikely allies continued downward, their party growing with the addition of Mr. 2 Bon Clay, who sacrificed his own escape to help Luffy reach level 6. When they encountered the poison-wielding Warden Magellan, Luffy tried a desperate tactic. Creating a room around Magellan's Poison Hydra attack, he attempted to separate the poison from its deadly properties. Tact. The poison wavered but remained lethal. Luffy realized he couldn't alter its fundamental nature, the poison was still poison, even separated into components. You can't decompose my poison. Magellan declared triumphantly. I am poison itself. A desperate retreat led them to level 5.5, Nukama Land, a secret level created by escaped prisoners led by Emporio Ivankov, the Okama Queen and Revolutionary Commander. Monkey D. Luffy, Ivankov studied him. Dragon son, yes. And you came for your brother? You know my father? Luffy asked, momentarily surprised. Intimately, Ivankov winked. But that's a story for another time. Ace was indeed held on level 6, but very too late, they transferred him to Marine headquarters this morning. Luffy's heart sank. Then I've failed. Not yet, Ivankov replied. We're breaking out too. The war at Marineford is where everything will be decided. With a growing army of escaped prisoners, they fought their way back up through Impel Down's levels. Luffy's room proved invaluable, allowing him to create shortcuts by cutting through walls and floors, teleporting allies past obstacles, and disarming guards from a distance. When they reached level 1, they found Blackbeard and his crew fighting Magellan. Taking advantage of the chaos, Luffy led his group to commandeer a marine battleship from the prison dock. As they sailed away from the underwater hell, Bon Clay sacrificed himself to open the gates of justice, allowing their stolen ship to escape through the otherwise impassable current. I'll never forget you, Bon Clay. Luffy shouted, tears streaming down his face as his friend remained behind, facing certain recapture or death. Jinbe, the fishman former warlord who had joined their escape after being imprisoned for refusing to fight against Whitebeard, took the helm of the stolen ship. To Marineford, he declared grimly. Though I fear we may be sailing into an even greater hell. Marineford appeared on the horizon, Marine headquarters constructed in a massive half-moon formation around an execution platform. The bay before it was filled with battleships, while thousands of Marines stood in formation on the shore. At the back, the 3 admirals, Akiji, Akainu, and Kizaru, flanked Fleet Admiral Sengoku, who stood near Ace on the execution platform. Approaching from the opposite side was the massive Moby Dick, flagship of the Whitebeard pirates, accompanied by 43 allied pirate crews. The strongest man in the world, Edward Newgate, Whitebeard himself, stood at the bow, his massive bicentennial gleaming in the sunlight. "We're too late to stop it," Ivankov observed as their stolen ship emerged from underwater. "The war has already begun." Indeed, the two forces had already clashed. Ice and magma reshaped the battlefield while light beams cut through pirate ranks. Whitebeard's quake powers shattered portions of Marine headquarters, while vice-admirals and warlords engaged Whitebeard's division commanders. "There's Ace." Luffy pointed to the distant execution platform where his brother knelt, chained in sea stone. "The platform is guarded by the admirals," Jinbe cautioned. "No direct approach will succeed." "Then I won't approach directly," Luffy decided. Standing at the bow, he created his largest room yet, stretching it toward the plaza but falling short of the execution platform. "I need to get closer." With each advance, Luffy created overlapping spheres, using shambles to teleport himself forward in quick bursts, avoiding direct confrontation when possible. When he finally reached the plaza, he found himself facing countless Marine soldiers and several vice-admirals. Creating another room, he prepared for battle when a familiar voice called from nearby. "Straw Hat Luffy. I've waited for this moment." Surgeon General Kuratsuki stood amid the chaos, his white coat immaculate despite the battle raging around him. His hands glowed with the green energy of his cut fruit. "I don't have time for you," Luffy shouted, trying to move past him. "The Ope Ope no Mi is too valuable to risk in this war," Kuratsuki declared, his glowing hands forming surgical gestures. Cut scalpel. Invisible blades of cutting force shot toward Luffy, who created a quick room to teleport aside. The cut sliced through several Marines behind him without drawing blood, the hallmark of Kuratsuki's bloodless cutting power. "I won't let you interfere with my brother's rescue," Luffy declared, expanding his room to encompass them both. Counter shock. Electricity-like energy surged toward Kuratsuki, who countered with his own technique. Cut dissection. He precisely cut Luffy's counter shock into harmless fragments, neutralizing it. "Your devil fruit power is wasted on a pirate who doesn't understand its true potential." Their battle continued as the war raged around them, Luffy using increasingly creative room techniques while Kuratsuki countered with surgical precision. When Luffy attempted to separate Kuratsuki's body parts, the surgeon countered by cutting the room itself, temporarily disrupting Luffy's control. "I've studied the Ope Ope no Mi for decades," Kuratsuki explained, advancing methodically. "Every application, every limitation. You're merely scratching its surface. I don't care about its full potential," Luffy retorted, creating another room. "I'm using it my way, to protect my friends and find the One Piece." Their deadlock was broken when Whitebeard himself noticed Luffy's struggle. The legendary pirate swung his bicentennial, creating a shock wave that separated them and cleared a path toward the execution platform. "Go, brat!" Whitebeard commanded. "Save your brother. That's what you came for." Seizing the opportunity, Luffy teleported forward, leaving Kuratsuki to face several Whitebeard commanders who deliberately intercepted him. As Luffy advanced, he caught glimpses of the larger battle, Marco the Phoenix transforming to intercept Admiral Kizaru, Jozo the Diamond holding off Akiji, Fire Fist, Ace watching desperately from the platform as his adoptive family fought for his freedom. When Admiral Akainu launched a magma fist toward Luffy, Jinbe intercepted it, suffering terrible burns but allowing Luffy to continue forward. The Fishman's sacrifice fueled Luffy's determination. Room. His sphere expanded further than ever before, fueled by desperation and newfound understanding of Haki's amplifying effect. Shambles. In a sequence of rapid teleportations, Luffy bypassed countless Marines, appearing ever closer to the platform. When Sengoku noticed his approach, the fleet admiral transformed into his golden Buddha form, creating a massive shockwave that disrupted Luffy's concentration. The son of Dragon will not free the son of Roger. Sengoku declared. Both bloodlines end today. Garp, Luffy's grandfather, stood nearby, visibly torn between duty and family. When Luffy created another room, pushing himself to his limits, Garp made his choice, stepping aside just enough to allow Luffy's teleportation to succeed. Landing on the execution platform, Luffy faced Sengoku directly. Room. The blue sphere encompassed Ace's seastone shackles. With precise control honed through countless battles, Luffy separated the lock mechanism without touching the seastone itself. Luffy. Ace gasped as his brother worked to free him. You shouldn't have come. This is my punishment to bear. Shut up. Luffy focused intensely, manipulating the complex lock. I don't care who your father was. You're my brother. The shackles fell away just as Sengoku attacked, his massive golden fist descending toward them both. Freed from Seastone, Ace's fire powers returned immediately. He created a wall of flame that momentarily held off Sengoku's attack while Luffy teleported them both off the platform. We need to retreat. Luffy shouted as they landed amid the battle. Everyone came to save you, now we have to escape. Whitebeard ordered his forces to withdraw, covering their retreat with his quake powers. As pirates fled toward their ships, Akainu pursued, taunting Ace about Whitebeard's weakness in retreating. Whitebeard is the greatest pirate who ever lived. Ace turned back, enraged by the insult to his adoptive father. Ace, no. Luffy shouted, seeing the trap too late. As Ace engaged Akainu, the Admiral's magma proved superior to Ace's fire. When the Admiral directed an attack toward Luffy, Ace made the ultimate sacrifice, intercepting the magma fist with his own body. Time seemed to slow as Ace collapsed in Luffy's arms, a massive hole burned through his chest. No medical knowledge, no devil fruit power could reverse such damage. I'm sorry, Luffy, Ace whispered, blood trickling from his mouth. Thank you for loving me. As Ace died in his arms, something broke inside Luffy. His anguished scream released a massive wave of Conqueror's haki that knocked out numerous Marines and pirates alike. In his grief-stricken state, he created a room encompassing Ace's body, desperately trying every technique he knew to reverse the damage. It won't work, Kuratsuki appeared nearby, his voice almost sympathetic. Even the Ope Ope no Mi can't resurrect the dead. There has to be a way. Luffy sobbed, frantically manipulating tissues that no longer responded to his power. The immortality operation requires a living recipient and your willing sacrifice, Kuratsuki finished. It's too late for your brother. As Luffy's grief overwhelmed him, he lost consciousness, his room fading away. The last thing he saw was Trafalgar Law arriving unexpectedly in his yellow submarine, stretching rubber arms to retrieve Luffy and Ace's body from the battlefield. I'll take him from here, Law told the approaching Kuratsuki. The Surgeon of Death overrules the Surgeon General. Luffy awoke 2 weeks later on Amazon Lily, his body covered in bandages and his mind shattered by grief. Law had saved his life, then departed after ensuring his survival, leaving Jinbe to watch over him. When Luffy finally emerged from his catatonic state, rampaging through the jungle and destroying everything in his path, it was Jinbe who helped him find perspective. Ace died, but you still live, the fish man reminded him after absorbing Luffy's grief-stricken blows. You still have your crew waiting for you. You still have your dream. The reminder of his scattered crew pulled Luffy back from the brink of despair. My friends, they're still out there. And they'll be waiting at Sabaody in 2 years, a new voice interjected. Rayleigh, the Dark King, had arrived on Amazon Lily with a proposal. Kuma separated your crew to save you all. He was working with Dragon and the revolutionaries. Each of your friends landed somewhere they could grow stronger. 2 years. Luffy questioned. The new world isn't like paradise, Rayleigh explained. Without haki and greater mastery of your devil fruit, you'll all perish quickly. I'm offering to train you for 2 years. Send word to your crew to do the same. After consideration, Luffy accepted. Using his remaining strength, he created a room encompassing his arm, which he had tattooed with 3D2Y, a message to his crew that their meeting was postponed from 3 days to 2 years. With Hancock's help, the message reached the newspapers, ensuring his scattered crew would understand. For the next 2 years, Luffy trained rigorously under Rayleigh's tutelage on Rusicana, a dangerous island near Amazon Lily with 48 seasons that changed weekly. The Ope Ope no Mi has far more potential than you've tapped, Rayleigh observed during their training. Combined with proper haki, it could be the most versatile devil fruit in existence. Under the Dark King's guidance, Luffy mastered all 3 forms of haki: observation to enhance his awareness within room, armament to strengthen his physical attacks and defend against other haki users, and conquerors to overwhelm opponents' wills without relying solely on his devil fruit. Rayleigh also helped Luffy understand the deeper applications of the Ope Ope no Mi. With observation haki enhancing his perception, Luffy could create more precise, surgical, techniques, manipulating specific nerves or blood vessels within a target. With armament haki, he could strengthen his room against disruption by other haki users. Most significantly, Luffy learned to maintain smaller, more focused rooms for extended periods with minimal stamina drain, rather than creating large, temporary spheres that quickly exhausted him. Conservation of energy is key, Rayleigh advised. A surgeon doesn't need to operate on the entire body at once, just the specific area requiring attention. By the end of 2 years, Luffy had transformed, physically stronger, tactically smarter, and vastly more proficient with both haki and his devil fruit. The playful, impulsive captain remained, but now tempered with greater control and awareness. "You've done well," Rayleigh told him on their final day. "But the Ope Ope no Mi still holds secrets even I don't understand. Its ultimate techniques remain for you to discover." "You mean the immortality operation?" Luffy asked. "Among others," Rayleigh nodded. "Though I hope you never need to use that one." "I won't," Luffy stated firmly. "I've decided, I'll never perform that operation, no matter what. No one should live forever at the cost of someone else's life." "A wise decision," Rayleigh smiled. "Now, your crew awaits. Go find the One Piece, Luffy. Make Roger proud." Sabaody Archipelago hadn't changed much in 2 years, though the balance of power had shifted. The 11 supernovas had made their mark on the New World, with Kid, Law, and Luffy himself being dubbed the worst generation for their disruptive influence. As Luffy made his way through the archipelago, he maintained a small, discreet room around himself at all times, one of his new techniques that allowed continuous spatial awareness without the conspicuous blue sphere. With his enhanced observation haki, he could sense his approaching crewmates before seeing them. One by one, the Straw Hats reunited at the Thousand Sunny, each having grown stronger during their 2 years apart. Zoro had trained under Mihawk, Nami had studied weather science on Weatheria, Usopp had bulked up on the Boyne Islands, Sanji had survived the Okama Kingdom, Chopper had expanded his medical knowledge, Robin had worked with the revolutionaries, Frankie had upgraded his cyborg body, and Brook had become a soul music superstar. Their reunion was joyous but brief, as Marine forces led by Sentomaru quickly converged on their position, accompanied by pacifistas. PX-5, eliminate the Straw Hats, Sentomaru ordered. The cyborg scanned them, then focused on Luffy. Target identified, Monkey D. Luffy, 400 million berries. Priority capture, Ope Ope no Mi user. Still obsessed with my devil fruit, huh? Luffy stepped forward, no longer intimidated by the mechanical monster. "Let me show you what 2 years of training can do." Room. The blue sphere expanded, encompassing the pacifista. With calm precision enhanced by haki, Luffy examined the cyborg's interior workings, then made a simple gesture. Cardiac shock. The pacifista froze mid-stride, electricity crackling across its surface before it collapsed, systems completely shut down. No external damage was visible, Luffy had precisely disrupted its equivalent of a heart. One hit. Sentomaru gasped. Impossible. We're not the same pirates who ran away 2 years ago, Luffy stated calmly. We're ready for the new world now. As more marine forces approached, including several battleships in the harbor, the Straw Hats boarded the Sunny, preparing their escape. Coding activated. Nami called as the bubble membrane surrounded their ship. We're diving directly to Fishman Island. As the Sunny submerged, leaving the Marines behind, Luffy stood at the bow, watching Sabaody disappear above them. The new world awaited, the second half of the Grand Line, where only the strongest pirates survived. I'm coming, One Piece, he whispered, adjusting his straw hat. The future Pirate King is on his way. Fishman Island brought a confrontation with Hody Jones and the new Fishman pirates, who sought to destroy the fragile peace between humans and fishmen. After defeating Hody and saving the island from Noah, a massive ship falling from above, Luffy's reputation soared even higher. The next leg of their journey led them to Punk Hazard, an island split between eternal fire and perpetual ice, where they encountered Trafalgar Law once again. The Surgeon of Death proposed an alliance against one of the four emperors, Kaido of the Beasts. Our first target is actually Doflamingo, Law explained, stretching his rubber arm to point at a newspaper article. He's producing artificial devil fruits for Kaido using sad from Punk Hazard. Doflamingo? Luffy recalled the warlord from Jaya. The crazy guy with the sunglasses? He's more than that, Law's expression darkened. He's also obsessed with the Ope Ope no Mi, your devil fruit. This revelation surprised Luffy. Another one? What's with everyone wanting my power? Doflamingo once possessed the Ope Ope no Mi, Law explained, his voice tight with suppressed emotion. Before Shanks stole it from him during a marine transport 13 years ago. Wait, that's how Shanks got it. Luffy's eyes widened. The fruit I ate? Yes, Law confirmed. It was meant for me initially. Doflamingo was going to force me to perform the immortality operation on him, then discard me. But Shanks intervened, stealing the fruit before Doflamingo could deliver it. And you ended up with the Gomu Gomu no Mi instead, Luffy realized. Fate has a strange way of working, Law smirked. The Gomu Gomu no Mi was being transported on a different marine ship, one Doflamingo's crew raided after losing the Ope Ope no Mi. I ate it out of desperation, not knowing it wasn't the fruit I'd been promised. The complexity of their intertwined destinies wasn't lost on Luffy. So Doflamingo wants my devil fruit to get the immortality he was after all along? Exactly, Law nodded. Though he'd settle for killing us both out of spite. Their alliance solidified, they formulated a plan to destroy the SAD production facility on Punk Hazard before proceeding to Dressrosa, Doflamingo's kingdom, to dismantle his weapons trade. During the Punk Hazard operation, they encountered another unexpected adversary, Vice Admiral Smoker and the G-5 Marine Unit, who were investigating disappearances on the island. More concerning was the presence of Surgeon General Kuratsuki, who had been assigned to Smoker's unit specifically to capture Luffy. The Ope Ope no Mi has eluded the world government for 13 years, Kuratsuki declared upon cornering Luffy in Caesar Clown's laboratory. First Doflamingo lost it to Red Hair, then you consumed it before we could recover it. The five elders grow impatient, Straw Hat. I'm never giving up my power, Luffy replied, creating a room around them. And I'll never perform that immortality operation, not for Doflamingo, not for the five elders, not for anyone. Then we'll extract it forcibly, Kuratsuki's hands glowed with his cutting power. The world government has perfected the extraction process since we last met. Their battles shook the laboratory, Kuratsuki's precision cuts meeting Luffy's increasingly sophisticated room techniques. When Luffy attempted to teleport away, Kuratsuki demonstrated a new ability, cutting through space itself to pursue him. Spatial incision. The surgeon created a cut that allowed him to step through space directly after Luffy. You can't escape through dimensions I can cut. Maybe not, Luffy acknowledged, his observation haki sensing an approaching presence. But I'm not alone. Law burst through the wall, his rubber fist stretched back. Gum Gum Pistol. The elongated punch caught Kuratsuki by surprise, sending him crashing through equipment. Taking advantage of the distraction, Luffy and Law combined their powers, Law's rubber body entering Luffy's room, creating the same resonance effect they discovered at Sabaody. Room, they called simultaneously, their powers amplifying each other. Shambles. Luffy transported them both to the laboratory's exit, where the rest of the Straw Hats waited with captive Caesar Clown. "This isn't over, Straw Hat," Kuratsuki called after them. "The world government's patience has limits." "So does mine," Luffy replied. "Tell the 5 elders to find their immortality elsewhere." Dressrosa proved to be a kingdom of deception, a seemingly peaceful country hiding dark secrets. Doflamingo had usurped the throne years earlier, turning citizens into toys that were forgotten by their loved ones. When Luffy and Law publicly challenged Doflamingo on the Corrida Coliseum broadcast, the warlord revealed his countermeasure, framing them for his own staged resignation from the warlord system, bringing Admiral Fujitora to Dressrosa to capture them. A clever trap, Law acknowledged as they fled marine pursuers. "Now we're not just fighting Doflamingo, but the Admiralty too." The situation deteriorated when Doflamingo captured Law, forcing Luffy to split from his crew to rescue his ally. In the heart of the palace, Doflamingo finally confronted Luffy directly. "Monkey D. Luffy," the warlord's grin was manic behind his sunglasses, his body suspended by invisible string. "The thief who ate my devil fruit." "I didn't steal anything," Luffy replied, creating a room around them. "Shanks had the fruit, I ate it. Simple as that." 13 years I've waited," Doflamingo continued, seemingly unperturbed by Luffy's power. 13 years since Redhair stole the key to my immortality. And now here you are, delivering it right back to me." "I'll never perform that operation," Luffy stated firmly. "No one deserves to live forever." "Then I'll take the fruit itself." Doflamingo's fingers twitched, manipulating strings that suddenly constricted around Luffy. "After I kill you, I'll extract it from your corpse." What followed was Luffy's most challenging battle since his training. Doflamingo's string fruit allowed him to control people like puppets, create clones, stitch wounds, and even fly by attaching strings to clouds. When he awakened his devil fruit, transforming the environment into strings, Luffy found even his room affected. "Your spatial manipulation means nothing when I control the space itself." Doflamingo laughed, turning buildings into strings that assaulted Luffy from all directions. Adapting quickly, Luffy combined his room with armament haki, protecting the integrity of his sphere from Doflamingo's awakened power. With enhanced observation haki, he could track the nearly invisible strings, severing them within his room. String bullet. Doflamingo fired condensed string projectiles that moved faster than the eye could track. Scalpel. Luffy countered with a new technique, creating tiny, focused incisions in space that cut the approaching strings into harmless fragments. When Doflamingo created a massive cage of strings surrounding the entire island, his bird cage technique that slowly contracted to kill everyone inside, Luffy realized the true extent of the warlord's cruelty. "You'd sacrifice an entire kingdom just to get my devil fruit?" Luffy demanded, horror in his voice. "I sacrificed my own brother for power," Doflamingo replied coldly. "What makes you think I care about these insects?" The battle escalated as citizens and allies alike struggled to slow the bird cage's contraction. Meanwhile, Luffy pushed his haki and devil fruit to new limits against Doflamingo's awakened power. In a decisive moment, Luffy combined all 3 forms of haki with his most refined room technique yet. Sterile field. The blue sphere expanded with unprecedented clarity and definition, emanating Conqueror's haki that disrupted Doflamingo's concentration. Within this enhanced room, Luffy's control reached new heights, allowing him to target Doflamingo's own body with surgical precision. Cardio shock maximum. The electrical disruption struck Doflamingo's heart directly, causing the warlord to stagger for the first time. Following up immediately, Luffy charged forward, his fist coated with armament haki. "This is for Law, for the toys you created, for everyone you've ever hurt." Luffy's fist connected with devastating impact, enhanced by internal tissue manipulation from his room. Gamma Knife. The attack bypassed Doflamingo's exterior defenses, causing internal damage that even the warlord's string stitching couldn't immediately repair. Blood spurted from his mouth as he stumbled backward. Impossible, he gasped. A mere rookie can't defeat a king. I'm not just any rookie, Luffy replied, advancing steadily. I'm the man who'll be Pirate King. With a final, hockey-infused strike, Luffy sent Doflamingo crashing through the palace roof, finally unconscious. The bird cage dissolved, saving Dressrosa from destruction. In the aftermath, something unexpected happened. The citizens and gladiators Luffy had befriended pledged their loyalty to him, forming the Grand Fleet of the Straw Hat Pirates. Though Luffy rejected formal command over them, preferring they remain independent allies, their formation marked his rising status in the New World. As the Straw Hats continued their journey, reuniting with the separated members in Zou and forming an alliance with the Mink tribe, Luffy's reputation continued to grow. His defeat of Doflamingo elevated his bounty to 500 million berries, with the world government's addendum about the Ope Ope no Mi now including, extremely dangerous. Do not engage without Admiral support. The growing alliance against Kaido strengthened with the addition of the Samurai of Wano and the remaining Heart Pirates under Law's command. However, an unexpected development occurred before they could proceed to Wano, the return of Surgeon General Kuratsuki with an ultimatum from the five elders themselves. Their confrontation took place on the sea between Zou and Whole Cake Island, where Kuratsuki's flagship intercepted the Thousand Sunny. Monkey D. Luffy, Kuratsuki called across the water, his voice carried by Den Den Mushi. This is your final opportunity to surrender peacefully. The five elders have authorized extreme measures if you refuse. I've heard that before, Luffy replied from the Sunny's deck, his crew battle-ready behind him. My answer hasn't changed. Then you force my hand. Kuratsuki revealed a new weapon, a modified pacifista specially designed to extract devil fruits from users. This prototype was developed specifically for you, Straw Hat. The culmination of years of research into devil fruit extraction. The mechanical monstrosity resembled a pacifista but with surgical attachments and a containment chamber where its stomach would be. Its blank face registered no emotion as it scanned the Sunny. Target locked, Monkey D, Luffy, Ope Ope no Mi user. We've beaten pacifistas before, Luffy reminded his crew, creating a room around their ship. This one's no different. But as the battle commenced, they discovered this pacifista was indeed different. It could analyze and counter devil fruit abilities, including creating disruptions that weakened Luffy's room from a distance. Devil fruit disruption field activated, the machine droned. Target neutralization commencing. Luffy felt his power fluctuating, his room becoming unstable. What's happening? See Prism technology, Robin realized, recognizing the glow emanating from the pacifista. They've weaponized it to specifically target devil fruit wavelengths. As the Straw Hats engaged marine forces boarding their ship, Luffy faced the extraction pacifista directly. Despite his weakened devil fruit, his haki remained at full strength. If I can't use my devil fruit, he decided, coating his fists with black armament haki, then I'll beat you the old-fashioned way. The clash was brutal, the pacifista's reinforced body withstanding tremendous punishment while its disruptive field prevented Luffy from using his spatial abilities. When the machine finally managed to grab him, pinning him to the deck, its chest cavity opened to reveal extraction equipment. Devil fruit extraction commencing, it announced tonelessly. Estimated survival probability of subject, 0.03%. Luffy, his crewmates shouted in alarm, fighting desperately to reach him. As the extraction needles descended toward Luffy's chest, a yellow blur intercepted, Trafalgar Law, stretching rubber arms to pull Luffy free while Bepo and the Heart Pirates provided covering fire from their surfacing submarine. This wasn't part of our alliance agreement, Law commented dryly, helping Luffy to his feet. But I can't let them have the Ope Ope no Mi either. With the disruption field focused on Luffy, Law was able to use his rubber powers effectively, stretching limbs to attack from unexpected angles. The Straw Hats and Heart Pirates fought side by side, gradually pushing back the marine boarding parties. Kuratsuki himself finally entered the fray, his cutting powers slicing through the Sunny's mast as a demonstration of his resolve. "The five elders grow impatient with your defiance, Straw Hat," he declared. "The immortality operation is too valuable to leave in pirate hands." "If it's so damn important," Luffy shouted back, "why don't they find someone willing to sacrifice themselves? That's the problem with you world government types, you always want someone else to die for your immortality." The accusation struck home, causing Kuratsuki to hesitate momentarily. In that opening, Law and Luffy executed a coordinated attack, Law stretching to launch Luffy over the disruption field's effective range, allowing him to create a room directly above the extraction pacifista. Room. The blue sphere expanded with clarity enhanced by Luffy's determination. Cardiac shock maximum. The precise electrical disruption overloaded the pacifista's systems, causing it to convulse violently before collapsing, its disruption field fading. With his powers restored, Luffy faced Kuratsuki directly. "I'm ending this obsession once and for all. You cannot escape your destiny, Straw Hat." Kuratsuki's hands glowed brighter than ever with his cutting power. "The Ope Ope no Mi belongs to the world government. This fruit chose me," Luffy replied, expanding his room to encompass both ships. "Just like the Gomu Gomu no Mi chose Law. We're not giving them back. Then I'll take it by force. Cut vivisection." Kuratsuki launched his most powerful attack, a cutting technique designed specifically to extract organs while leaving the subject alive. Luffy didn't dodge. Instead, he allowed the cut to pass through him, using his mastery of the Ope Ope no Mi to control how it affected his body. The green cutting energy entered his chest but found nothing to extract. Luffy had temporarily relocated his heart and other vital organs within his room. "Impossible!" Kuratsuki gasped. "No one can counter the vivisection." "I just did." Luffy approached calmly, his body reforming completely unharmed. "Now let me show you something I learned from Rayleigh." Creating the most focused room of his life, Luffy encompassed just Kuratsuki himself. With precision guided by observation haki, he performed a technique he developed but never used in battle. Memory excision. Within his room, Luffy carefully identified and temporarily suppressed the neural pathways related to obsession in Kuratsuki's brain, not erasing memories, but altering how they affected the surgeon's emotions and drive. What are you doing to me?" Kuratsuki clutched his head, his single-minded determination visibly fading. "Freeing you," Luffy replied simply. "Your obsession with my devil fruit has consumed you for 13 years. I'm giving you a chance to remember why you became a doctor in the first place." As the technique completed, Kuratsuki stared at his hands, then at Luffy, confusion evident on his face. I can't remember why this was so important." "Tell the five elders that the Ope Ope no Mi is no longer available," Luffy instructed firmly. "No matter how many marines or pacifistas they send, my answer will never change. I will not sacrifice my life for someone else's immortality." The marine surgeon nodded slowly, something like relief crossing his features. For the first time, he looked at Luffy not as a target to be captured but as a person. "You could have killed me," Kuratsuki observed quietly. "That's not who I am," Luffy replied. "I don't kill people just because they're in my way." As the marine forces retreated, carrying their damaged extraction pacifista, Law approached Luffy with a thoughtful expression. "That technique. You manipulated his neural pathways without physical incision. Even I couldn't do that with the Ope Ope no Mi." Luffy shrugged. "I just figured if the fruit can affect anything in my room, why not thoughts and feelings too? They're just electrical patterns in the brain, right?" Law stared at him with new respect. "You continue to surprise me, Straw Hatya. Perhaps fate did choose correctly between us after all." In the months that followed, the alliance against Kaido grew stronger. With the marine threat temporarily neutralized, they focused on their original goal, dethroning the Emperor of Beasts and liberating Wano. During a rare moment of peace before the final assault on Onigashima, Luffy and Law found themselves alone on the Sunny's deck, watching the sunset. Have you ever regretted it? Law asked suddenly. Getting the Ope Ope no Mi instead of the Gomu Gomu no Mi? Luffy considered the question seriously. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to be made of rubber. Stretching and bouncing around seems fun. But I've saved so many people with this power, helped my friends in ways I couldn't have otherwise. He created a small room in his palm, studying its blue glow. This fruit chose me for a reason, just like the Gomu Gomu no Mi chose you. I think we both ended up with what we needed, not what we wanted. Philosophical for you, Straw Hat, Law remarked with a smirk. Hey, I can be deep sometimes. Luffy protested, then grinned. But mostly I just like making cool blue rooms and teleporting around. Law laughed, a rare, genuine sound. To think the most coveted power in the world ended up with someone who uses it to relocate meat from the kitchen to his mouth. Best use of it ever. Luffy declared unashamedly. As their laughter faded, Law grew serious again. The world government won't stop, you know. Even with Kuratsuki's obsession neutralized, the 5 elders still want that immortality operation. Let them want, Luffy replied, his own expression hardening. I'll never perform it, not for them, not for anyone. That's my choice to make. Even for your crew? Law pressed. Even for someone you love? Luffy's gaze drifted to where his friends were visible through the galley window, laughing and arguing over dinner. Especially not for them. They wouldn't want me to die so they could live forever. That's not what family does. He looked back at Law, his resolve evident. When I become Pirate King, it'll be with all of them beside me, for however long we all have. I don't need immortality to make my life meaningful. Law nodded, seemingly satisfied with the answer. Then I think the Ope Ope no Mi found its perfect master after all. As night fell over the Thousand Sunny, Luffy stood at the bow, looking toward the horizon where their greatest challenges awaited. The journey had transformed him from an impulsive boy with an accidental power into a man who understood the true value of the ability he possessed, not its potential for immortality, but its capacity to protect the freedom and lives of those he loved. I'm coming, One Piece, he whispered to the stars. The Surgeon of Liberty is going to be the Pirate King, not forever, but for exactly as long as I need to be. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.